The time now is 6:06 p.m. We have a quorum and the meeting has been duly posted. Good evening and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to take the time to thank everyone for coming this evening. Please join us in standing for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a salute to the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Board members present starting on your left and my right are Trustee Joyce Foreman, Trustee Dan Mitchkay, Second Vice President Elizabeth Jones. I know Dr. Lou Blackburn is in the building, Trustee Nancy Bingham, Trustee Bernadette Nuttall, Trustee Eric Cowan, and Trustee Mike Morath. Our Superintendent of Schools, Mike Miles, joins us, and I'm Miguel Solis, the Board President. Si alguien necesita los servicios de un intérprete para escuchar la Junta en español, por favor, levante la mano. ¿Ok? La persona que está de pie en la parte de atrás del salón lo podrá ayudar. Trustees, please help me at this time in identifying any elected officials who are in the audience. We're glad to have you join us, elected officials, former elected officials. I know I saw Honorable Harriet Earhart, Honorable Diane Ragsdale. Trustees, am I missing anyone else? And if we are missing you, would you raise your hand? Okay. We'd like to take this time for our accolades to recognize many of the great things happening in Dallas ISD. Congratulations to Dallas ISD's 4 2014 National Blue Ribbon Schools: Kathleen Joy Gilliam Collegiate Academy, Dr. Wright L. Lassiter Early College, Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy, and the School of Business and Management at Townview. This prestigious award is bestowed on the nation's highest performing schools or those that are making significant strides in closing the achievement gap. Congratulations to the students, staff, and parents of these schools. Students at the School of Science and Engineering swept the competition at a recent UIL event. 16 students from SCM won every category at the UIL Princeton Fall Classic on October the 5th. Categories included number sense, calculator applications, mathematics, science, and current events. Congratulations also to the students who are in the running to receive Distinguished National Scholarship Awards. 22 students from TAG, SEM, and Booker T. Washington have been named semifinalists in the National Merit Scholarship Program and the National Achievement Scholarship Program. Also, Abigail Cartwright, a 2014 graduate from TAG, was recognized as the Texas AP State Scholar. This prestigious award is given to one male and one female student each year who had the highest average score on the highest number of AP exams taken during their entire high school career in the state of Texas. She is now a proud student at Rice University. Congratulations to all of those students. And finally, it's my pleasure to announce that Dr. James Terry, the CFO of Dallas ISD, just found out, just a couple days ago if I'm not mistaken, or yesterday, that he has been named the Best Government CFO of the Year, an award that it is an award that distinguishes North Texas financial professionals who have demonstrated commitment to their respective companies' financial best practices, accounting standards, and success as a strategic visionary. And these things set him apart. Under Terry's direction, the Dallas ISD was able to double the district's general fund, secure funding for major renovation to district schools, and improve its Moody's bond rating from AA- to AA, as well as its S&P rating for financial management from regular to strong. Dr. Terry, thank you for your service and congratulations, sir. It's now time in our program where we recognize those students and staff who have made outstanding achievements and or earned significant honors, and those individuals in the community who have made important contributions to Dallas ISD. Ms. Gully, do we have any recognitions?
Yes. Ms. Proctor?
Superintendent Miles,
Oswaldo Abarenga, STEM Executive Director. Desiree Marks Arias, Division III Assistant Superintendent. Trustees and STEM winners, please come forward as your name is called. Trustee Solis, Christopher Stewart, teacher at Francisco F. Pancho Medrano Middle School. Joined by Principal Theresa Sergoodson. Trustee Blackburn, Belvia Collins, teacher at Talented and Gifted at Yvonne A. Ewell Townview Center. Brian Smith, teacher at Harry Stone Montessori, joined by Principal Lisa Corey. Durka Shamukin Johnson, teacher at Hillcrest High School. Trustee Cowling, LaShonda Roberson, teacher at Raul Quintanilla Senior Middle School. Trustee Nuttall, Sanaya Thomas, teacher at James Madison High School. Joined by Principal Gail Ferguson Smith. We have one additional winner, Elizabeth Jordan, teacher at Emmett J. Comrade High School. Ms. Jordan was unable to attend tonight's meeting. The board is honored to recognize these 7 teachers for receiving the 2014 Texas Instruments Innovations in STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Teaching Award. 2013-14 was the 8th year Dallas ISD participated. Finalists were selected after review of their principal's recommendation and their responses to questions about their instructional practices. In addition, classroom observations were completed and scored. Winners represent both middle and high schools from around the district. Each teacher receives $5,000 and their campus receives an additional $5,000. Congratulations, STEM winners. This concludes our recognitions.
Trustees, this segment now is for speakers who wish to address agenda items. Speakers are reminded that they are to address the board and that they are not to direct comments to any individual trustees. Ms. Gully, will you please call the speakers' names?
Yes. The Dallas ISD Board of Trustees welcomes citizens, visitors, and employees to its meetings. To hold this meeting in an effective and orderly fashion, we ask members of the public to please conduct themselves appropriately. Any person making rude, personal, disrespectful, slanderous remarks or who become boisterous while addressing the board shall be removed from the room by the police and security officers at the direction of the presiding officer without additional warning. I remind each speaker you have 3 minutes to speak. When you arrive at the microphone, please state your name and address. Our first speaker is Bill Betson, followed by Shirley Daniels.
Howdy, my name is Bill Betson. It's an honor to appear before you, and I do appreciate the time you spend in your work. But I'm here to talk about something that's rather tragic. The superintendent's report should be a time when transparency is the goal. Sadly, that rarely happens. He probably will not include in his report today what he ordered done to Trustee Nuttall at Dade Middle School. He probably will continue to refuse to
Mr. Betson?
for that tragic incident.
Mr. Betson, please keep your remarks to superintendent's report. Thank you, sir.
I hope I am wrong. Another tragic fact he will not speak about is the massive ongoing increase in teacher turnover. At this time, 1/3 of the teachers in DISD have been here with the district 1 year or less. Those were the numbers as of 8/18/14, the beginning of this school year. That's 1 out of 3 teachers. He probably won't talk about that. Never has the percentage of inexperienced teachers been larger in DISD. Monday evening, here in this building, Mr. Miles spoke before the Home Rule Charter District Commission. During that presentation, he spoke of the 3 main reasons for employee turnover. Conflict with your boss is number 1, conflict with a colleague is number 2, or not being valued by the employer is number 3. I come to a lot of meetings. I listen to a lot of reports from the superintendent. I have never heard him express any concern regarding employee turnover. What message does that send employees? How valued do they feel when the most massive turnover in the history of the district does not appear to concern him? Is that why employees are leaving? Step number 3, not being valued by your employer? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Shirley Daniels, followed by Regina Frank.
Good evening, especially to my trustee, Ms. Foreman, and to the rest of the board members. I could not stand by any longer and not speak out against the cruelty that one of our board members, Ms. Nuttall, received. Looking over my 45th year being involved with Dallas Independent School District, I was just couldn't believe the treatment that was given to a board member.
Ms. Daniels, I just want to let you know, you signed up to speak about the budget amendments. Yes, ma'am.
And I will get on that.
Okay.
Okay. I've been around this board table for 45 years. I know what to do, okay? Based on what I was saying, we want our board members to be involved with our schools. And because when I call on my board member, I want them to respond. That's why I go to the poll and vote for them. Now the budget, and oh, by the way, when I call my board member into the schools, please don't come try to take them out, because you may face a little problem, and you know, hey, going to jail is no problem. But I want my board member to be involved with the issues that faces their school district. On the budget, first of all, when you have a school district that encompasses veteran teachers that have taught the children, the grandchildren, and you dismiss those people and bring in first-year teachers that just want their loans paid off if they teach 2 years or 3 years, then you're gonna face problems. You need those veteran teachers that can run that campus when the principal is not there. But when you get rid of them, you can expect whatever happens at that campus. So I'm saying you all need to look at your budget and make sure that your teachers are more qualified for as being at the area that they're in. And I mentioned to one of my friends, if they've never been on Martin Luther King Boulevard, don't know where Bonton, don't send those folk over there, because they don't know how to.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Regina Frank, followed by Juanita Wallace.
I stand before you guys with an extremely very heavy heart. I am a single parent, and it's very, very disturbing to have my children face what these kids are facing. It's so unfair. How can I compete with all of this negative, the negative decisions that the board is making, or you guys are allowing the superintendent to make? And he's not in the inner city. He does not know what these children are going to. There's no stability in their lives. They don't have this stability at home. They don't have this stability at school. How are they going to excel? How are we going to teach our children to be productive individuals? How are we don't have, you guys are fighting against us. Really, it's a losing battle. It's a losing battle. Like myself, I'm a single parent, and it's very, very hard. Very, very hard. Mr. Miles, I know your mother was a single parent, and it was very, very hard, but not as hard as it is now. And the one thing I can say that you've done that was conducive the last 2 years was get your son out of here. Because he's not substance.
Ms. Frank, Ms. Frank, you signed up to speak about the budget amendments? Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting to the budget. I'm
Okay.
getting to the budget.
Let's hear it.
I'm getting to the budget. If you have a chief, ED, and a principal, why are you at the school? You hired those individuals to do those jobs. You stay here and make some conducive decisions, something that's going to be productive to the environment of the children, because going in and out of those schools for 15 minutes is not enough time, baby. It's a whole lot of problems over there.
Again, ma'am, the budget amendments, Ms. Frank.
I am talking about the budget.
This is the second time. Please speak about the budget amendments.
About the budget, because you've hired these individuals, you guys are paying these people for these positions, and he's gone overrule what they're saying. That's a budget issue. That's money that you can use to put a teacher in the classroom. In Highland Park, you guys want us to be conducive to the children in Highland Park. In the second grade, they're using iPads, you guys, to take their weekly tests, when our children don't even have a basic laptop in the schools to be able to stay on level. Reality is, you need to face what's at the issue at hand. The issue at hand is you're spending money where you don't need to be spending it. Yes, I'm educated. Yes, I am, and I'm going to speak my piece. Arrest me. Arrest me. Put me in jail. Waste the tax dollars on that. I'm going to speak my piece. I have a child in the district. I have that right. And until everybody stand up and speak for what's right, then we're going to have this problem. But if you want to be fired, you don't want this job, you're not going to do it right, leave, Mr. Miles. I've tried to respect you for 3 years. Floyd, Mike.
Ma'am, for the third time.
Our last speaker is Juanita Wallace.
Juanita Wallace, 1617 Panama, Dallas, Texas. I need everybody to stand. I need everybody to stand that understand the real issue. Now, if you don't understand the real issue, remain seated. But the real issue, I need you to stand. Thank you. All right, now, my item is waivers. Okay. Waivers are a legal way to break the law. What does the law say about class size? State law requires districts to request a class size exception for kindergarten through 4th grade classroom that exceeds 22. Mr. Floyd, Mike Miles plan to request waivers for exceeding class size limits, 134 waivers. And most of them are going to come out of South Dallas. Let's do our research on that. We had 2 trustees to make a comment. Trustee Nuttall said 31 in a classroom, that's too many. Miss Nancy Bingham says, well, classrooms fluctuate because DISD is very mobile. If you have more than 22, I don't care for whatever reason, Mr. Mike Floyd Miles needs to be hiring more teachers. It's just that simple. Board members, you hired him to do that, so that's what he needs to be doing. Now, we do know that policy says, or class side matter says, National Education Policy Centers recently released a 2014 research brief that analyzed the breadth of the impact of class size. You want the teachers to do more, you want to bully the teachers, but yet you don't want to provide them with the kind of class size that they need. Board members, you ought to be ashamed of yourself for even supporting the waivers, because the fact says that you have to sign off on the waivers before he can send them to TEA. So if you sign off on a waiver for 134 waivers, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. So the waiver, once again, let me make it clear, it's a way to break the law. DISD board members are already in the practice, and Mr. Miles, in breaking the law. 3 waivers, these waivers actually cheat the children. And they also cheat the adults, the teachers. Just like Mr. Miles cheated the students and the teachers, he's also cheated, guess what? Oh yeah, I'm gonna say it. He cheated, he used bully lynch tactics though. He put the 2 Hispanic officers to throw Miss Nuttall out of the building. He used Hispanic men to throw a black woman out of the building. I was there, I saw it. So the bottom line is, we cannot accept this kind of behavior. We do not want an apology. We want a resignation. So if you agree with me, if you agree with me.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Your time has expired.
Thank you. Thank you all for your opinions.
This concludes our speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen of the crowd. Thank you very much, Ms. Wallace. Thank you all. Yes, ma'am. Sir, I'm asking that all of you please recognize the decorum of the meeting. Thank you all. Trustee Foreman.
It's me. In the spirit of, we have a lot of people out here and we have more speakers. I'd like to move those speakers up now as opposed to waiting until the end of the meeting.
Trustees, are there any objections? Trustees, hearing no objections, we will move non-agenda item speakers forward. Ms. Gully, please call the roll.
Okay. Our first speaker is Elvia Espino, followed by Charles English.
Ms. Espino, before you begin, I just want to make sure for the crowd that I say once again, let's please respect the institution. Let's please respect the Board of Trustees and our meeting that we're conducting. Before we move forward, if this crowd gets out of hand, and I'm saying this to all members in the crowd, I will call the board to recess. Ms. Espino, you may begin.
Thank you so much. And I can tell you this is a miracle. I had no idea that you all were going to be speaking about this, but God doesn't make mistakes. So let me just say what I have to say, please. Good evening, members of the board. I thought that when I relocated to Dallas-Fort Worth from Houston almost 9 months ago, my credentials and education would speak for themselves. And finding a career, as you all are talking about, would be as simple as filling out an application and waiting for an HR representative to call. I was wrong. I thought that surely the second largest school district in Texas would be honored at the chance to have me as an employee, not having retained me through Teach for America, but simply because I considered Dallas ISD as an employer of choice. To date, I have applied, which you have before you, more than 50 and almost 100 job postings ranging from community engagement to communication roles. I have a master's degree in education, and I'm applying for my doctoral degree to Harvard, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and I cannot get hired by Dallas ISD. After having applied for postings since December of 2013 to as recent as last month, I have only been called on one, and it was for an interview that was to take place 4 hours prior to getting the phone call. When I arrived, to my surprise, the interview took place in the same room with 4 other people interviewing for the same position. Technically, the interview was interviewing all 4 of us at once. I'm not even sure if that's legal, but that was chaos. I realized that after today, my chances of ever working for Dallas ISD are probably 0, but sitting back and waiting for your talent team also puts my chances at 0. I have sent my credentials to members of your talent team, hoping that someone would be proactive, and certainly I'm not asking for a handout to hand me a job, but to do their job in recruiting top talent. This is not about me not getting hired with Dallas ISD. I can handle rejection. This is about the students and people you serve in Dallas ISD. Are you working for the people? This is about that recent college grad who gets discouraged from you all not doing your job. I'm also speaking on behalf of those parents who can't speak the language, or that parent who looks around and wants their children to be educated by people that look like them. I'm here on their behalf. I graduated with my Master's of Education from a nationally ranked university with a 3.97, and as I stated, I'm applying for my doctoral degree in educational leadership. And I wanted with my whole heart to serve the more than 150,000 students that you all serve. Because I am here, I am one of those students. I came from a single parent home. I am the people that you serve. I am here before you today not to critique you, but instead to give you an outside perspective. What is Dallas ISD doing to attract, engage, and retain talented, passionate, and qualified people like myself? I want a better...
Thank you, Ms. Espino. Your time has expired.
30 more seconds to please go on, please.
Charles
No, ma'am.
English, followed by Essen Carson.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles English. I'm the CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dallas. I resigned from a very, very great career in banking about 8 years ago, and for one particular reason, and that is to address what I could do in terms of student achievement. And so I became president of the Boys and Girls Club. If you were to look at across America, at 3 o'clock, 50 million kids are leaving school. 1/3 of those kids will not have a place to go. 15 million kids. Here in Dallas, Boys and Girls Club is addressing that issue in terms of its after-school programs. And I have to change a little bit of the tenure of this meeting to say I thank the trustee board for approving Boys and Girls Club for the first time to expand our after-school program where we're addressing the needs of our kids. We're finding the solution to issues that just not going to be solved by any one person, any one entity, any one organization. To date, we have tracked our academic performance of our kids, and 74% A and B honor roll, 98% progressing on time to the next grade level. And of our 200 and some high school kids who make it to their senior year, they're graduating from high school and moving on. Now, we've been doing this for 50 years, but it's after school is going to be one of the things that I think and I believe very strongly is a compliment to the teachers and the dedication and commitment that you're making to your kids every day. I want us to change the conversation to they're all our kids. And when we look at academic performance, that creates a foundation for kids to be productive. It creates an atmosphere for kids to know how to be responsible, and most significantly, become caring citizens. Those are the key words in our mission statement. Now, we are honored to have Dr. Condoleezza Rice. Of all the cities in the country, she chose Dallas as the 4th location to implement Center for the New Generation. And we're going to be at Dunbar Elementary to launch that program. And we're going to expand to 6 more campuses. There are over 200 campuses of the ISD. We're in 6. We want to expand that, and the only way we can do that is to be able to create more resources in terms of after-school educational program, teachers, and also that requires more money. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get the support of the city, the school district.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Essence Carson, followed by Angela Davis.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Essence Carson, and I am a student at Lincoln High School, and I will be graduating this year. Today, I come to express the way my peers and I are feeling at this moment. The definition of a bully is someone who harasses, intimidates, and also forced to do what's wanted. The way that Trustee Bernadette Nuttall was done was absolutely unacceptable. Someone who I look up to and is an awesome mentor to me. I am even afraid as a student to even look at you wrong, Mr. Mouse, because I don't want you to have anybody escort me out of here. No disrespect, but you are being an academic terrorist. I'm not learning absolutely nothing at all. The teachers that are teaching me are just graduating college. Every day as I enter into the classroom, I am not learning anything by the teachers explaining the DOL and LOL. That's taking up all the time. So now with me not learning anything, due to your horrible mistakes on revamping, I am now on Mike Mal's education probation. The fact towards many people, you are very complacent. But now I am so sorry. No disrespect, I am a child. But you gotta go.
Angela Davis, followed by Peggy Pickram.
Good evening, President Solis, members of the board, and Superintendent Miles. My name is Angela Davis. I am the president of NEA Dallas. My office is located 6500 Greenville Avenue, Suite 520, Dallas, Texas 75206. Enough is enough. Tonight, NEA Dallas calls for action. Dallas doesn't need a home rule charter school district or more privatization of public schools. But what we do need in DISD is a superintendent who will respect and support dedicated professional educators as we do what we do best, inspire students to learn. Superintendent Miles has been an obstacle to student success by overloading the teachers with excessive paperwork, undermining their morale, interfering with real instructions, playing musical chairs with principals, and bullying people who may disagree with him. Even before he tried to intimidate an elected school board member by having her removed from a district campus, Superintendent Miles had already divided the DISD community and created an administrative nightmare that is counterproductive and, in at least one key respect, is illegal. State law requires teachers to receive planning and preparation periods during the school day, a total of 450 minutes every 2 weeks, with a minimum 45 minutes per planning period. Planning periods improve teachers' effectiveness and enhance the learning experience for their students. They are in addition to the several hours each week that most teachers spend at home on classroom preparation, grading papers, and other job tasks related. But many teachers are finding their planning periods giving way to excessive meetings and paperwork dictated by an administrator that is driving our school district into the ditch. His disrespect for professional educators also is expressed in other ways, including his demand and persistence for overly scripted learning objectives and lesson plans that not only add to the excessive time teachers have to spend on paperwork, but also rob our students of valuable lessons they cannot be scripted. In implementing the new evaluation system, TEI, that will use student test scores to help grade teachers' performance, despite significant amount of research, debacle such value-added measures are unfair and ineffective in gauging a teacher's effectiveness. His disrespectful treatment of Trustee Bernadette Nuttall at Dade Middle School was out of line. Ms. Nuttall is no less concerned about issues at the school, which she is in her board district, than Miles supposedly is. She has every right to visit the campus. She wasn't there to interfere with the administration. She was there to learn, following the superintendent's decision to abruptly replace the principal, 2 assistant principals, and 10 teachers after only 7 weeks into the school year with no clear indication of how well thought out or not the changes were. This is the 3rd principal the superintendent has installed at that school in only 18 months. If he isn't choosing the right leader for that campus, whose fault is that? The bullying tactics he used against Ms. Stoddard were in the same divisive, ineffective spirit he has employed against district employees who nevertheless remain dedicated to giving the
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
education they deserve.
Peggy Pickram, followed by Nethel Jackson.
Peggy Pickron, 75089. I would like to extend a thanks to those board members who's concerned about the people in your district. Sometimes you have to take the bitter with the sweet. This year, the teachers have had quite a bit of bitterness. The acronym SLO doesn't mean student learning objective, but stressful, long-suffering, ongoing work for teachers. In August, the task of the SLO begins. September, the SLO continues with much quote-unquote rigor to meet the October 2nd deadline, only to find out that after all the late nights, no time to spend with family, meetings, trainings, or not being able to get a manicure or pedicure, the deadline was extended to the end of October. Wow. That's what I call stressful, long-suffering, ongoing bitterness. It's true that weeping endures for a night and joy will come in the morning, but for us teachers, morning has not come yet. No joy and no weeping. Thank you.
Nethel Jackson, followed by Diane Gibson.
Good afternoon. To the Board of Education, my trustee of District 6, Ms. Joyce Farmer. Your Superintendent Miles, Nethel B. Jackson, live at 2851 Toluca, Dallas, Texas, 75224 for the past 45 years. I am speaking in support of Trustee Nuttall. On October the 13th, 2014, at the Billy Earl Day Middle School, Trustee Nuttall was accused of trespassing by Superintendent Miles. He ordered security guards of the DISD to remove her from the school that she was elected to represent. She was doing the right thing, looking out for our boys and girls, as well as the staff of that school. Thank you, Bernadette, for all your caring. Well, 59 years ago, December 1st, 1955, Miss Rose Parks refused to give a seat to a white man. She also, Bernadette, was removed. Well, history has repeated itself, and for that, I'm ashamed. Superintendent Meyer said that, Superintendent Meyer, this is your ball. She was not trespassing. I beg to differ. Texas Education Code stated, and I want to read for the record, all rights and title to the school property of the district, whether real or personal, shall be vested in the trustee and their successor in office. Mr. President and board members, I had the opportunity to look at that video. This is harmful, embarrassing, disrespectful, distasteful for her husband and the daughter and this city. I am asking each board member to search your own soul and find Mike Meyer guilty as charged. you must ask for his resignation. Let's do the right thing and not the white thing. Thank you.
Diane Gibson, followed by Ola Allen.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Diane Gibson. I'm a member of the Concord Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor Brian Carter, a member of 30 years in good standing. Tearing down strongholds through careful strategy and cunning deceit, Satan attempts to set up strongholds in our mind. A stronghold is an area in which we are held in bondage, in prison, due to certain way of thinking. Strongholds are lies that are believed. Trustee Bernadette Nuttall, as an African-American female, as a member of the Southern Dallas community, I sincerely and humbly apologize to you on behalf of the behavior that was experienced, because I am a strong believer that if they did it to you by day, they'll do it to us by night. And if we as a people, especially as African-American females, do not come forth and stand up for you, then who is to say that the next man won't do it to us? Domestic abuse is not just with a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend. For two men to manhandle you out of a school, that was wrong. And for no reason, we elected you to represent Billy Dade Elementary. We elected you to also be a part of that school. And if there's a turnover within 18 months, you have every right and privilege to ask a question to the person that worked for you, why was it done? That was a legitimate question. You was well in your right for doing that. From a legal perspective, you never should have been thrown off that campus. My only sincere apology to you is that I wasn't there. And I sincerely apologize to you for that, because it never should have happened. He's never going to apologize, and that's okay. My grandmother said a person shouldn't apologize if they knowingly and intentionally did what they did. So don't ask for another apology. Please don't. We don't want it. And so, it's up to your colleagues now. The ball is in their court. It's up to them to make the right decisions. It's up to Ms. Bigham, it's up to Ms. Jones to talk to him and say, would you have done that to us? Would you have had us escorted by two African Americans? Even if you said it, I can say I can play football too, but I can't. So until I do it, it's not done. So all I'm saying to you is move forward. Continue. You have always been active in this school district, long before you was elected official. So don't let anyone set you off course. Don't let anyone have you allowed to look the other way. You still have a job to do. You're still an elected official. I want you to run the good race, fight the good fight, and stay forward, because even if your colleagues choose to do absolutely, positively nothing, God is still in control, and he will have the final say-so. Amen.
Olin Allen, followed by Richard Sheridan.
Good evening. Good evening. That's okay. That's okay. To the board, president, and Superintendent Miles, I am Ola Allen, 4111 Summit Ridge Drive, Dallas, Texas. Please allow me this time to thank a few. Mrs. Wanda Powell, Willie Burrow, Eddie Levine, Bob Marshall, Mr. Frazier, Donna Blackman, and Sherry Christian. You guys are the greatest. In the last 2 years, Skyline has experienced a lot of catastrophic problems, and you guys came through for us, for the students and staff of Skyline. And we want to say thank you. The parents, the staff of Skyline is most appreciative. I promised myself that I wasn't going to speak to the board and superintendent anytime soon, because it is disgusting when you're speaking, you guys are moving around, tapping your pen on the table, swirling around in your chair, and not listening to what we have to say. But I had a change of mind. Mr. Miles, I am very upset with your action a few days ago. To move one of Skyline's best to fix the mess that you created. It is wrong, Mr. Miles. My child's name was on this teacher's list for special tutoring and preparing him and other students for the STAR test in December.
You talk about college readiness and 2,000 goals, but yet you have impeded the education process. And that does include my child's education. You may ask, Ola Allen, how may I fix the problem that I have created? Mr. Miles, thank you for asking. This is your formula. Parents, community, principals, and teachers equal the way to solve your problem. Mr. Superintendent, DISD is not Burger King. You can't have it your way all the time. Get your parents and community and principals and teachers involved before you make hasty decisions. I'm asking you to please return our academic coach to Skyline. The problems that are existing at Dave, you created them, so you fix them with your blessings of your staff and the community. Board members, let me tell you, we see the division, and it is very obvious that we see your action. And it tells us that there is a division on the board. We elected you guys to oversee our children and educate them and make sure that their education is true. I am asking you all to work together right now. That is not happening. Stevie Wonder can see that something is wrong. You all need to get along, do the right thing, and get about educating our children. I want to thank Dan, Elizabeth, Lou, Mike, and Joyce for your support. Whenever the community call on you, you are there. And whenever I call on you, are there. Miss Nuttall, you are our girl downtown. And let me tell you that God didn't bring you this far to leave you. Joy coming in the morning. Thank you.
Richard Sheridan, followed by Martha Rodriguez.
Ms. Scully, one second. 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, I hear what you're saying. We have a meeting to run. We're going to run this meeting, and I'm asking you to please allow us to do the business of the district. Before we move forward with the speakers, si alguien necesita los servicios de un intérprete para escuchar la junta en español, por favor levante la mano. Gracias. Continue.
Richard Sheridan, followed by Martha Rodriguez.
Board members, trustees, and citizens of Dallas. I'm here to speak about Ebola. This is part of the genocide of the black race, genocide of its education, the genocide of its culture, the genocide of its people. Ebola, and lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Ebola, E-B-O-L-A, evil bringing overwhelming lies to all. Minister Louis Farrakhan is being called all sorts of names with his position on Ebola. He says it is selectively directed at the black community, and generally I agree. Look at the condition of the black community in our nation and in Dallas. Sure looks like genocide to me. I love the classic children's story, The Emperor's New Clothes. It took the innocence of a child to tell the emperor the truth, which both freed the people he ruled and also freed him. The people proclaimed, "Oh my God, the child told the truth." Let's all be like children. Because Jesus did say, unless we be as a child, we will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Today, most people live in fear, which immobilizes them. It's been said fear causes us to hesitate, and that hesitation will cause our worst fears to come true. The great book and movie 1984 was about a future totally controlled by government. There was nothing one could do or go to that the government didn't control or see. The government demanded total loyalty. Well, look, sure looks to me like the 1930s book is a prophecy, as there are cameras all around, we can be tracked on our phones, and we can be seen through our computers, and our private computers are open books. There is a biological weapons industry in our nation, which is a joint effort between our federal government that we're fed up with and private industry. Some names involved in the biological weapons aimed at both the black community and we the people include Henry Kissinger, the World Health Organization, Fort Detrick, Merck, the CIA, FDA, AMA, and the pharmaceutical industry, and some presidents. Here's something positive now. What are some remedies for Ebola? Combined with a daily multivitamin program, why do they recommend that we take multivitamins? Why hasn't this been public service announcements? It's flu season, duh. High doses of vitamin C. Turmeric, the Orient, the Asians have been doing this for years. Cayenne pepper, colloidal silver, to name just a few, are effective. These are very inexpensive remedies. But will I get arrested for saying this? Will health food stores now be attacked by the FDA? Did you know that the U.S. government wants to take nutritional supplements, various vitamins off the market? This is the same government, FDA, AMA, etc., that promotes the sickening sugar substitute aspartame. So lastly, there is no boogeyman, ladies and gentlemen, just the big brother government machine. Jesus said, physician, heal thyself. And so we'll go with Ebola. We don't need the CDC, FDA, or AMA. There are more hindrance, a liability than AIDS in our quest for a happy, healthy life. Light is truth. Truth is love.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Your time has expired.
Come on, that's all.
Martha Rodriguez, followed by Erica Estes.
Good evening. First of all, I want to commend the Board of Trustees for the hard work that they're doing. You have a challenging job ahead of you, and I come bearing good news. I am a DISD alum, also a Leadership ISD alum, and today I come with a group from Bachman Lake community. They're part of the Community Action Network that we're starting there, thanks to the 0 to 500s Collaborative. And this is their first board meeting that they're attending, and we have 6 moms that represent the Bachman Lake area that are currently enrolled in ESL and leadership classes and are working on their personal and professional development to be prepared to advocate for their children's education and their community. Thanks to the 0 to 500s Collaborative, these mothers are taking advantage of programming, preparing their children for pre-kindergarten while they're strengthening their skills and acquiring knowledge to bring resources not only to DISD, which are the schools that their children will go to, but also to their community. Thanks to an anonymous donor, in mid-November, these moms will also have access to having their children be able to use Hatch for 90 minutes a day, also preparing their children for pre-K education. It takes all a community effort involving our homes, our families, and the community so we can actually see change. It's not just pointing the finger at someone, and they're taking an active role to prepare their children for kindergarten and also learning what it takes to be an active parent in your children's education. And I hope that moving forward, your community and education department will continue to engage them as they enter DISD. So thank you very much.
Our last speaker is LaColia London. Oh, I'm sorry. Erica Estes, followed by LaColia London. Erica's not here? Okay. LaColia London.
Hello, everybody. LaColia London. Okay, well, I'm here today. Miss Bernadette Newdall, my heart comes out for you. I feel everything you feeling because they did my daughter the same way, but her head was down to the floor. So the point is, they doing our kids like y'all showed her being done. They doing our kids like that, man. What are you gonna do about it? You need to leave. I don't, y'all, really. If y'all gonna keep letting them doing our kids like that, I mean, you see how she feel? That's how the kids feel. The teenagers feel like that. They feel just like that. They really do. I mean, it ain't no good feeling. It really ain't. So I need to see what is gonna be done. You know, he needs to go participate in the war or something. I don't know. But being here is not the place. I mean, if you're gonna do it like that, man, come on, you gotta be better. These are the people that we elected. South Dallas put it where she can get up there. South Dallas. They voted her in, man. You ain't the police like that. You can't do them like that. Maybe the Army, but not here. I mean, how you gonna put something out there about bullying and you doing it? You doing it. How can I tell my kids not to bully nobody and you doing it? You can't be a leader, man. You can't lead us if you're gonna do that. I mean, that's the most ridiculous stuff I've seen on TV since I don't know when. But you wouldn't show my daughter film. Let's show that one too. But it's ridiculous that y'all did her like that. Really? Is it because of the color of her skin? Because that's what it might be. And she's a female. And then we got domestic violence campaigns. Really? Where Michael Rollins at? Where he at? I mean, come on, he needs to be out here. He needs to be here because that was domestic violence. I mean, come on. Really, come on. And another thing, the other other day, Kentonetta, the lights went off for 2 hours, and the kids stayed in class. Y'all didn't call no parents. Y'all didn't do anything. You didn't put me out of school. I sat in the school with them. I sat in the front office waiting on y'all to turn the lights back on. Come on, man. That's how y'all do our children. Kentonetta had the lights off for 2 hours and like 7 or 8 minutes, something like that. Something have to be done. But it's time for you to go, brother. It's time for you to pack up and get up out of here because you ain't treating the trustees right. So if you ain't gonna treat them right, you sure ain't gonna treat us right or our children. And that's just simple as that. So something has to be done. So we need you to resign, pack up, go on back to Colorado where they ain't learning nothing anyway.
This concludes our speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final time that I'm going to ask to please allow the board the opportunity to do the work of the district. We will begin this evening with the superintendent of schools. Ma'am, please. The board will take a 5-minute recess and we'll be back. Yes, sir. The time now is 7:11 p.m. The board is now back from recess. As I stated just earlier, we will begin this evening with the Superintendent of Schools report.
Thank you, Mr.
Miles,
President, members of the board. Thank you, students, for being here. I'm sure you've done your reading and homework. I want to talk just a little bit about the crisis that happened in Dallas. Unfortunately, Dallas was a city that had the first Ebola patient. But fortunately, we had teachers and staff and the community members who rose to that occasion. We did not have to close any school, and this week our children, 8 of them, came back to schools with very little disruption. They were embraced by their students, other students, they were embraced by their teachers, and they were embraced by their community. On Monday, we did have a 10% drop in attendance at Jill Stone, but today it is back up to normal, and all the other 5 schools are also attendance is normal. And so that's a testament to our students, first of all, for being understanding, for being welcoming, and just being good kids. It's a testament to our staff who did a lot of explaining, making sense of things for their students, but also community members and parents. It's a testament to the community, the parents, who said, yes, these kids are our kids, they're welcome back in our school. The facts are that there isn't any virus that these kids can contract. And so that's a testament to them as well. And one other group, little is known about how the cabinet and other key leaders in the district worked hard to make sure that the information got out, that we were very transparent, worked overtime to solve problems and talk to people, get extra nurses and counselors and cleaning done, and that took a lot of effort over the last 3 weeks. So I just want to congratulate the district, but especially those schools that were affected and the staffs that were affected. Thank you for taking care of our kids. We in Dallas did not close any schools. Whereas some other places panicked, closed schools, or discriminated against some people, our communities welcomed our 8 kids back. And we're to be congratulated for that. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. We're now on the individual board trustee district reports. We'll begin with Trustee Joyce Foreman. No report from Trustee Foreman. Trustee Mitchkay.
Yeah, let me start by just saying that this weekend at both Hexter and Riley Elementary on Friday night and Hexter on Saturday morning and afternoon will be having their carnivals. It's a great way that the community shows its support. I will be attending both of those, and I'm looking forward to that. I also want to mention that there was a report in the morning news about the No Child Left Behind tutoring. As many of you will remember, about 3 years ago, the district, Alan King was interim superintendent then, questioned some of the billing practices of some of the tutoring firms. The district took a lot of heat and Alan in particular got a lot of grief over our resistance to pay without auditing some of these firms. And some of those, in the report today, some of those people who are running the tutoring firms pleaded guilty of fraud. So I thank all of those who are involved at the district in trying to ensure the integrity of that tutoring program, notwithstanding all of the heat that the district took. I also want to thank everybody on the board and in the staff for the support and comfort that I received. My mother passed away recently, and one of the things that my sister found was a proclamation, a plaque, when my mother retired. She was a public school employee for 30 years, teacher assistant, worked in the library, worked in the cafeteria, worked in the assistant principal's office, was involved in discipline, which she was an expert at, having disciplined me and my siblings. You know, we don't thank our teachers enough for the job that they do. We do thank them some, but we don't thank them enough, but we rarely get around to thanking our support staff. We have over 9,000 employees who are not teachers in the district who come to work every day and do an excellent job. So I want to thank all of them. And then finally, to pick up on something the superintendent said about the Ebola situation. Most of those schools are in the Conrad feeder pattern. They're in my elected District 3. And I did get a report on the attendance and the attendance of the staff, which did not dip at all in the worst days. So thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchke. Trustee Jones.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Solis. Try it again. Thank you, President Solis.
Still off.
Use Dan's microphone. Try that one. Okay. All right. We'll do this. Thank you, President Solis. You know, I also echo Trustee Mitchke's words about all the people who every day make it possible for our children to receive an excellent education throughout this district. We're 20,000 employees strong, and it takes every single one to educate a child successfully. So I also want to say that it's important that we always recognize the fine work being done by our entirety of our team. I'd also like to thank those members of the community who continue to serve this district, most specifically those who participated recently in Principal for a Day. I think many would say that they got a pretty good firsthand view of what it takes to lead a school. We have over 220 schools in this district, and each one is its own community, and each one represents a very vital part of a community in which it is placed. So to have people come into our schools, to be a part of our schools, to actually see what it takes to run a school and what it involves, I think is an important view, and I encourage everybody to at some point step up and potentially do the same. Our schools are open environments, and I think one of the greatest things that I see and have the privilege of being able to be a part of is those community events that are there as part of each and every child's life. So I'd like to thank recently the W.T. White community for hosting an open mic night, which is where the talent of our young people at W.T. White were able to stand up and be recognized, not just by their peers, but by the entire community because the doors were open. So I'd like to celebrate the student talent and remind everybody that our schools are places where we can see great talent come alive. I'd also like to thank the entire Withers community for what was an amazing, not just carnival, but the fun run and the emphasis on health and the wellness of our community. More than 1,000 people turned out throughout the course of the day, families with children from the community who were able to celebrate. It was an amazing day. And as well, I'd like to thank an incredible teacher at Withers Elementary who received a state recognition. That's best in class for bilingual education, and that's Irma De La Guardia. Her story has been profiled on the Hub. I'm also giving her a shout out in a column. But I want everybody to know we have the excellence in education in our teachers in our schools and not lose sight of that. I'd also like to thank the community that came out to celebrate Cary, the revitalization of Cary Middle School, a school that will rise and will be one of our greats. And pulling together and seeing that community work together and to support our children was a pretty amazing sight. I'd also like to recognize that October is National Heritage Month for the Hispanic community. As someone who has roots in that community, I am very honored to have been a part of a number of celebrations across this entire region in honor of the heritage of so many who are in our community. And I'd also like to thank the Bachman Lake Collaborative. The 0 to 5 initiative is a critical part of our early childhood education. The Bachman Lake community is a vital community that serves not just the TJ feeder pattern, but so many of our different schools across North Dallas. And it is a vital part of making sure our children are ready on their educational journey. And lastly, on a very personal note, I would like to thank all the children who participated in celebrating women who have been survivors of breast cancer in this community. We had an incredible effort from our young folks who painted a number of different pumpkins and other supportive symbols to welcome the women who were part of the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. Over 3.2 million women in the United States are survivors of breast cancer. They are our mothers, our sisters, they are our friends, they are our family members. And it is an incredible thing to see our young people give hope to those who are on the journey and who have been diagnosed. 280,000 women this year, well, women and men, it comes to find out, will be diagnosed. I take my hat off to them. My heart goes out to them because I myself was recently diagnosed. It is something that I would hope all of you, every single person who has a chance to get a mammogram does so, and does so at earliest opportunity to be able to fight what is a disease that I hope in our journey and in our students' journeys will find a cure someday for. So I take my hat off to every child in this district who is searching for the opportunity to be that scientist who ultimately will find a cure to this very deadly and this very horrific disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Dr. Blackburn.
No report.
Trustee Bingham.
First off, it was announced earlier tonight that Dr. Jim Terry, our Chief Financial Officer, was awarded the Best Government CFO. And that is such a tremendous honor for this district. He has worked very hard to put financial checks and balances in place so that it ensures that all of our tax dollars go to the best quality in children's education. And that's a huge undertaking. So this is a really tremendously big honor for the district. So Jim, to you and your department, thank you so much for all the efforts that are being made, and they're certainly paying off because more dollars are going into our classroom. Two other things. Many thanks to our superintendent and his team, all the chiefs, the staff people who worked so hard on this tragic Ebola event. And many might not know, because our district was the first to be hit with this, and nobody wants to be the first, but unfortunately we were. Our superintendent worked very closely with the mayor of Dallas, our county commissioners, the health officials, and in fact, his team has come up with a protocol that I do know other school districts are already tapping into in case they are unfortunate enough to have the Ebola episode hit their district. So I know that probably they stayed up many late hours, and the communication, everything from communication to custodial workers, just a tremendous job on this, and I know it took a lot of effort. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and to your staff. And then the other thing we had happen in our district this over the past few weeks is we had a big storm, and 43 of our schools were without electricity, but rather than shut down the entire district, we were able to just work with those particular schools that were impacted, and the rest of the district kept moving forward. So we are a very huge district, over 150,000 kids with over 200 schools. So when a problem hits one or two schools, our administrative team did not panic. They put efforts into place so that the rest of the district did keep going. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent, to your staff for being able to step up to the plate on these two huge hurdles that came about this last 6 weeks.
Thank you, Trustee Bingham. Trustee Nuttall.
Good afternoon. Is it on? C.A. Tatum Elementary plans a practical parent education workshop on Tuesday, October the 28th, and they will hold their annual carnival October the 30th. Kudos to Skyline High School drumline, drill team, cheerleaders, and drum major, who won first place in the annual Extreme Battle of the Bands competition sponsored by Williams Chicken. The students took top honors at the event under the direction of band director William Young. Parents and volunteers at Urban Park Elementary School shoved shovels, rakes, and water hoses and got their hands in the dirt this week for Real School Gardens. Real School Gardens is a nonprofit organization that partners with schools to create campus learning gardens, thanks to Real School Gardens. And also this week I had the opportunity yesterday to go listen to the students at Skyline High School. Believe me, the students have the solution to many of our problems. And 8 students from Booker T. Washington High School for Performing and Visual Arts recently performed by invitation only with the piano guys at a concert at AT&T Performing Arts Center. And congratulations to the students at Booker T. Washington Director David Large. I also want to thank the community for their support. I did not want to miss this opportunity to always thank South Dallas, where the sun is always shining. And I want to thank my parents, my community, for all their support during this interesting, difficult time. And I appreciate you guys. I always know that I will always advocate and fight for our children. They deserve it. They deserve us to fight for what they need and what they want and what their desire. And I believe the parents and the students' voice matter. I believe it matters because we are here because of them. And they elected me to be their voice. And I will continue to stay focused and be their voice. So I want to personally thank District 9 for their support. And we're going to be fine in District 9.
Thank you, Trustee Nuttall. Trustee Cowan. Okay, Trustee Morath. All right, well then I'll move on to mine. Various District 8 schools will hold festivals to celebrate the fall season with the community. All festivals are open to the public and will feature games, foods, and fun. To learn more about the festivals, please buy a ticket, or to volunteer, please call the school directly, and those schools are Stephen C. Foster Elementary School, which will host its festival on October the 24th, Cigaroa Elementary School, October the 30th, Maple Lawn Elementary School, October the 30th, and Smith's Talented and Gifted Academy, November the 7th. Also, Cigaroa Elementary invites all students, parents, and the community to their Cigaroa movie night featuring the cartoon film La Llorona. Is that Llorona or Corona? Because if it's Corona, okay. Which is on Friday, October the 24th at 5 p.m. And finally, Spence Talented and Gifted Academy invites all district students interested in enrolling at Spence Academy to their Hornet for a Day program. Interested students entering grades 6 through 8 are welcome to register for the shadowing program. For more information, contact the TAG coordinator at lagarcia@dallasist.org. Trustees, we're now on the Board of Trustees Committee Reports. Trustee Mitchkay, do you have anything to report for the Audit Committee?
The only thing I'm going to report is that we will have an audit committee meeting on November 20th before the regular board meeting. We'll set the time based on in a couple of weeks, based on what we'll have on the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchkay. Trustees, we're now on to the minutes submitted for approval.
Trustee, President Solis,
Yes,
are we going to have a audit report at the board briefing to brief the whole board on the audit?
If the report is prepared, yes, we will.
Yeah.
When and if the report's prepared, we will, in November.
For the
Or
November
it'd be
board briefing.
December.
Let me check with our internal audit department to see if November or December works best. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchkay. Thank you, Trustee Nodal.
Point of information.
Yes, ma'am.
For something as important as the audit committee, how is it reported up through the board? Is it that it stays with the audit committee, or there is a formal report from the audit committee back to the board after each audit committee meeting has occurred?
Trustee Mitchkay, if you'll remind us from last year, as the audit committee chair, how did you report out to the board at large?
Well, we've reported in meetings and at briefings, and at the November 20th meeting, we'll have the report from our external auditors.
Okay.
So the question, point of information follow-up, is how does the board of the whole, how is it supposed to be briefed or otherwise be knowledgeable about the actions taken at the audit committee level? Are we to then go to the meetings or rely on some other process?
Thank you, Trustee Jones. If you could answer that question, and then we're going to move on to make sure we're staying germane.
Sure. The audit committee approved all of the reports that were available to all of the trustees. We approved the reports as written, and all the trustees had copies or access to those reports.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchkay.
And just as a last point, were those reports published on SIRE?
When we approve the report, it is at that point in time that they become final, and then they are put on SIRA as soon as practical. Are they up now?
Yes.
They're all up now for public inspection.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustees. Trustees, we're now on to the minutes submitted for approval. The following minutes are Joint Board of Trustees and City Council Education Task Force meeting September 18th, 2014. Board meeting September 25th, 2014. Board of Trustees Parliamentary Workshop September 29th, 2014. Called Board meeting September 29th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, are there any corrections? If no corrections, trustees, please cast your votes.
Okay. The motion passes 9-0.
You've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the minutes as submitted. This evening, we have consent agenda items 7A1 through 7A.37 as amended. The following agenda items have been pulled for a separate vote. 7A.1, 7A.3, 7A.14, 7A.17, 7A.23, 7A.25, 7A.32, and 7A.36. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
It's moved by Trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Blackburn. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the consent agenda 7A1 through 7A37 as amended. Trustees, please cast your votes.
Motion passes 9-0.
You've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the consent agenda as amended. Now we're on to items pulled for a separate vote, beginning with 7A1 to approve the budget amendments for October 22nd, 2014. Consent item number 1, pulled by Trustees Bernadette Nuttall and Joyce Foreman. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, is there any discussion? Trustee Foreman?
Mr. Terry? How are
Mr.
you?
President, board members, Ms. Foreman.
I've got just a few questions.
Okay.
One of the items on here is additional funds to support Samuel Early College.
Yes.
That came about because of,
This is, all of this is part of our leveling. You must remember how we budget is that we budget based on a projection in early January, February, and then we spread the money. And then what happens is as soon as school starts, about the third week into this new school year, HCM and school leadership gets together and they look at the numbers and they then work together in order to come with recommendations as to additional staff that they need. And this is their recommendation, which we brought forward into this budget amendment.
okay, so this is actually additional staff.
Yes.
Okay, because it doesn't indicate that. The other item on here that I've asked questions about, obviously, is the funds for the adult and community education program through December. And
Yes.
Thank you, Paula Blackman, for giving us that additional information. But I still raise concerns and am concerned that we're expending $820,000 for the adult education program, and we still don't have an agreement for the refunding of that money.
Well, actually, we got a word from the Workforce Commission that they have given us a go-ahead to go ahead and access that 800 and bring it forward. So we do expect that this money that we are currently asking for will in fact be funded to us in whole by the Workforce Commission.
Okay, do we have maybe a timeline?
Well, I would certainly expect it before the beginning of January, the new school year.
Okay, thank you. And then just one final question. When I look at the budget amendment in its entirety, out of the $1.3 billion budget, it shows a negative $25,511,530 million.
Correct.
So, we're carrying that forward, correct?
Yeah, currently, this is not uncommon in this district, nor uncommon in a lot of districts, is that in terms of your cash flows and what's needed and what comes in, you'll carry a negative net position, meaning revenue minus expenditures. But I do expect by the end of this year that this will be absorbed and will in fact not exist there. The other thing that I'd ask you to notice is that if you look at the second column on the left, it says the original budget, and it's got the beginning fund balance July 1 of 291 million. That number is a projected number by my staff, saying that's what we expect the July 1 and is not audited yet. Now, we're going to get that audited number in November as soon as Deloitte has finished their audit. And I do expect that number to actually be higher, that in effect will increase our fund balance. And again, part of that $25 million would be less in a net situation.
Thank you for your explanation, but my concern is that we continue to add expenses at the same time we're trying to move forward and reduce that negative 25 million.
Yes.
And so I'll be watching that really close.
So will I.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustee Bingham.
I will be supporting this amendment. I think it's very commendable that so many of our parents across the district take advantage of the adult education programs and the ESL programs. And And I know that many of the constituents in my elected district do partake in these programs, and this is the way that they can further their education, they can increase their English learning skills, and as a result, they're helping their children. So education, we tend to tout the slogan, education is a lifelong learning experience. And I know that this is not going to fix the total situation, but it will for a while. But it will also give the district some time to perhaps work on increasing our adult literacy programs. And maybe the situation with the Texas Workforce Commission, it might not be the ideal solution, but perhaps we have now enough time that we can work to provide perhaps an even better program to address the needs of our English language learners and the adult education. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you, Trustee Bingham. Trustee Jones, and then Trustee Nuttall.
Thank you. I echo what Trustee Bingham has said. Adult education, you educate the family in our world. It's just as important as educating the children, especially to a number of our families who are otherwise denied education through other means. I hope that something can be done to improve the opportunity and access for our families going forward, and that the state figures out how we can make it work for everybody. But at this point in time, I commend you for finding the resources and stepping up and filling a gap. But as always, being the good fiscal, I want to make sure that we run from a balanced budget and are able to manage our resources without having to dip into our reserves and smooth our cash flow requirements. So just want to say thank you on resourcing when it's needed. That's a great plus. And again, congratulations, Jim, on your recent award. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustee Nuttall.
I guess this is for Ms. Blackman. So if I understand, the program, this break of service will not stop until June 2015?
That is correct.
So the staff that are currently working with our parents on ESL, they will continue into June 2015?
That is the intent, to retain as many teachers as possible.
So we're going to pay through December?
From the district, yes.
And then the workforce is going to take over in January of 2015?
Another entity that is yet to be determined. We're talking to a few to determine how the transition looks for the January through June year.
So the 50, is it 53 staff members?
45.
45, and how many parents?
2,300.
2,300. So we don't know the entity yet that's going to transition from December to January?
From January till June, the last half of the academic year.
So in addition, administration is looking to transition the program in its entirety by June 2015?
It will be completely out of the district. It'll be completely done.
So from January to June 2015, who's going to manage it then?
We are discussing that with 2 to 3 entities. We don't know at this moment. We have an internal deadline by knowing of November 15th.
So the break-in service will not happen, the 2,300 who's been working with the current teacher?
That is correct.
So whatever entity is going to just transition the students, the parents, as well as the
facilities and the staff.
And then they're going to rent the staff, the facilities from us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So January through June, we don't know yet who's going to manage it.
Right, and I'll be hoping to get that finalized in the next couple of weeks.
And when we're finalizing it, we're ensuring that they continue, it's the same, and they continue that year and do the transition.
No break-in service.
No break-in service. Okay.
Yes,
the second question with leveling, I guess this is a two-part question because leveling with class size reduction. So I have to wait till we get the class size reduction right to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on the leveling, we're going to a total of 165 additional positions,
Yes.
and that's additional positions to help with class size reduction, or just additional positions?
No, this is not a class size reduction, because class size reduction would be through title money, so this is just additional staff that will be funded out of the general fund.
Out of general fund. So we requested in the September 24th additional staffing as well. Do additional campus position due to staffing program needs. Do you know how many additional staff?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I certainly can provide it.
In the budget,
I can
September
go
the
back
25th.
in the, yeah, September, sure. Oh, do you have the number?
I was just curious of the additional staff. So they're not teaching,
Yeah, I can provide you a breakdown since the beginning of the school year, the total additional staff that we have added to the general fund.
so is this 137 additional teachers?
In this budget amendment, there's 137 additional teachers and 28 additional staff out to the campuses. There are 4 clerks, there are 3 counselors, there are 15 assistant principals, there's 1 registrar, there's 1 specialist, and there are 3 testing coordinators. Now, do remember that in a previous budget amendment, the board had directed administration to add counselors, and so I know that part of the additional staff this year to the general fund was that request to put out additional counselors out to the, and also there was also a request to add test coordinators. So in previous budget amendments this year, we added those. So off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly the amount, but with a little research, I can tell you exactly in the budget amendments how many we have added.
And so the 25 million is out of the fund balance, correct?
25 million right now would be coming out of that fund balance of 291 million.
290.
If nothing was to change, but one thing that I can guarantee you is those numbers will change before the end of the year, and I do expect those numbers actually to turn positive. We predict the numbers every single month just about, and we don't have a real good feel for that until usually after December break.
Thank you, Trustee Nuttall. Trustee Blackburn.
Dr. Terry, remind me again on the number of additional positions. The document says 165. Could you tell me once again how many of those are teacher positions?
137.
137 additional teacher positions.
Correct.
And this is a result of leveling. So we have an additional how many students to justify an additional 137 student teachers?
Off the top of my head, again, I don't know, but I believe that number, it was close to 2,500. But again, don't quote me. Let me come back and I will give you an answer.
We have an additional 2,500 students this year that we had not projected. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So someone...
Don't hold me
yeah,
to
I know.
that.
Someone's going to be able to help you, though.
Oh, there is?
While we're talking, someone is going to find out how many students we have right now, today. Someone...
Well, you've got to remember that the way this works is that we try to pick the high enrollment. So the high enrollment at the school district usually occurs in about October. And then from that point on, usually in high school, you will see enrollment sort of drop off to the end of the school year. Middle schools usually follow the same pattern, and elementaries usually are level or in fact increase just a bit. So, and remember, we have to staff by enrollment and not by average enrollment. So we have to make sure, and that is to help us with class size waivers so that we can keep the class size waiver down that we have to give to a TEA.
Let me ask it another way. How many students did we budget for, and how many students do we actually have?
I believe that we budgeted for something to the tune of 161,500, and I believe at leveling it might have been 162,900.
So as of today, we have about 162,000?
I don't know the number today.
Yeah, I'm still trying to give somebody time to get it.
We keep track of that every single day, but I
Yeah, that's why I'm
don't
just
have
waiting for
available.
somebody to come with the numbers. All the chiefs on the front row, somebody has an idea how many students we have. I'm just filibustering, trying to give them time, because we ought to know how many students we have. But so far, what I've heard is that
Well,
we budgeted
if
for.
Gilbert Prado is here and VP is there, he could go look it up on his machines and run down, but I believe that VP, who keeps track of that on a daily basis, has already gone home, but I do know that Gilbert Prado is still here.
So we have budgeted for about 161,500 students.
That's I believe that's the number that was originally given to us by Laura Velia.
How you doing? I was going to say, we have a budget amendment that's pulled for a separate item, and the budget guy's not here? It's so
course I
nice
will
to
be
see
here.
you. Of course you will be here.
It's great to see you too.
It's good to see you too.
So, Mr. Terry is absolutely correct. We actually, the budget was developed around 161,500 students. We leveled at approximately 161,900 students. Currently, the student numbers reflected in the system is approximately 160,488 students.
Okay, I'm having a hard time understanding this. We budget for about 161,000 students. We have about 161,000 students.
About 162,000.
Okay, we have an extra 1,000 students.
Right.
And that calls for 137 extra teachers.
Yes, but I think that you have to also understand that it's how it's distributed. Now, I got a whole paper in theory that I could show you, but essentially it's this. It's the kind of students and the students in the classroom, so it depends on the number of rooms within a school and the number of teachers at a grade level. So as an example, you may get, say, 123 elementary schools. And you've got to then split that class down by hiring another teacher in order to stay under the 22-to-1. So now instead of one teacher teaching 23 students, you've got a teacher teaching on average 11.5 students. And so you don't get the real utilization of the teachers, and so it makes for a very inefficient system. Now I can go through and tell you how you can make it much more efficient, but that's not what my position here is, just to try to explain to you how it is that though 500 students may seem like a small number compared to the number of teachers that we've brought on, but it depends on size of schools, number of teachers at a particular class level, and so the efficiency. If you look at the overall student-to-teacher ratio at this school district, it, I believe, is about 14.7 or 15-to-1. And that's not uncommon in large major urban school districts to have that low of level, even though you may have class sizes, in some cases, say 33-to-1 at a high school, but overall, when you average it, it goes way down.
Okay, I'm still going to, we only have 500 additional students, and we need an additional 137 teachers. Do we have any idea of those general ed teachers or those bilingual teachers?
Yes, we know exactly who they are and where they're at, and we can provide you with that information.
I'm going to ask for a breakdown on the types of teachers that we're looking for.
Sure.
And also if you can tell me where those additional teachers are going to be needed. So beyond the 137 teachers, we have a few other positions that are additional. Can you tell me what those are for?
Yes, we've got, we've got four clerks. I can tell you exactly what middle schools they went to. We have got 3 additional coordinators, counselors that went to Dade Middle School, to Spruce High School, and to Hood Middle School. We've got an additional 16 assistant principals. I could name all of the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools that they went to. We have 1 registrar that went to Thomas Jefferson High School. We have 1 specialist that went to Carter High School, and we have 3 test coordinators. 1 went to Carter High School, 1 to Brown Middle School, and 1 to Humphrey Lee Elementary.
Okay, good. I appreciate that specificity. Going back to the 137 teachers, have we started posting and hiring for those teachers?
I believe so.
So we're expecting to find 137 teachers in almost Halloween.
Well, I think that
It's
Ms.
almost Halloween.
Darville has created almost impossible, where we started the school year with, I believe, something to the tune of 22 teachers. So
let me
if
make sure
anybody can do it,
let me make
she
sure
can do it.
Carmen's going to say the same thing. So Carmen, right now, we don't have these 137 teachers. We have to hire these 137 teachers. Is that correct? So we have posted on the website, at least right now, the need for 137 additional teachers from what we have right now.
Currently, you will not see all of those positions posted. So we post at the request of the campus. When they're ready to staff a position, we will post.
So you guys are asking for positions, but you're going to wait for the principals to say that they need the positions. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we understand that there's a need when they're ready to hire. So in terms of closing in on the need, we know that we'll have people graduating in December. There are people relocating out of the area. We still have people applying regularly for our teaching positions.
So we have positions that you're asking for, but you're going to wait for the principals to request that they be posted.
Well, we're working in conjunction with them. We still have a general teacher posting where we can screen applicants as they're applying on a daily basis, weekly basis, to ensure we're building a candidate pool for them.
So we know where the 137 positions are designated. For instance, we know that Roosevelt should get 5 positions.
Correct.
Let's say. And you're waiting for Mr. DeVoe to decide that he needs those 5 teachers before you post it. Is that what you're saying?
That he is ready to hire for them, correct.
But the leveling says that there's a need.
Correct.
So we're going to wait until the principal decides that they want.
We work in conjunction with them.
Again, if I can get a list of where all those teacher positions are assigned.
Yes.
And if there's a District 5 school that has the need for additional teachers, I hope they'll be posted so that at least the students in District 5, but let me just break it down. I think all of our students need to have the teachers, whether the principals want them or not. Thank you.
Okay. Point of information, yes, ma'am.
So who's teaching the kids now? I mean, if we are needing additional 137 teaching positions because of leveling, and we had additional 500 students, so where are the students housed now and who's teaching them?
Well, the students are in classrooms with the teachers we have, so what it probably means is many of the classes are larger sized. So
And where
there's
are
33 kids in a class, as Jim made reference to earlier, instead of, say, 25.
And where are the larger sizes? Have we targeted the larger sizes?
Well,
schools with the.
I think I would have to defer to Jim's list of exactly where the schools are. I don't have in my head where exactly the larger sizes were, although.
For the 137, can you just tell me some of the schools that are needing additional teachers?
Yeah, I truly will need to. I can provide you that list by tomorrow.
So, if I understand correctly, we're asking a budget amendment, $6.5 million for 137 teachers. We know we need them. I guess what Carmen said, that they have yet to post them, so principals can hire them. And I'm just concerned about where are the students, and if you are going to take a ACP test in December, and you don't have a teacher in the classroom, and it's a class size of 50 students.
Well, do remember that, we have to come to you all and ask you for the money in order to hire those teachers, because you all determine what that budget's going to be, and if you don't want to pass this budget, then it's hard for us to, start the bell to hire these teachers.
So it's back on the board?
Hey,
back
Trustee
on
Nuttall.
It is
we're going to make our way around
I mean, I
for
was
another
gonna
round.
finish. but
I know.
we can-
Thank you. Trustee Mitchell?
Well, I want to understand how the posting of the positions works. If I'm a teacher and I'm looking to work at Dallas ISD and I look on the website for the postings, and if I'm say an elementary school teacher, taught third grade, if you have a posting for 20 third grade teachers or one third grade teacher, the applicant is still going to be applying for that position, right? It's almost like irrelevant to the applicant, from the applicant's point of view, because if you do have a posting for an elementary school teacher, is it, and I'm asking these questions, I don't know the answers. Does it identify the campus?
It depends how it's posted, but usually from an applicant's perspective, they want to get an application on file for a particular position type. So for example, if someone applies for a teaching position, they're applying for teacher, various campuses, etc.
But the specific campus is not listed, right?
There are both types of postings. You can have a posting, it depends on the level of specificity of a position. For something general, such as generalist EC to 6 that can cover all of elementary, there are general postings.
Could I add something, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so for example, we have 222 schools, so 137. Keep in mind, it sounds like a big number when you're talking about less than, one per school, almost one half per school. And a good example for most of these is a school that has an elementary school that has 25 in one class and 26 in another class. So because of leveling, we want that number down just a little bit. So we have to give another teacher to that school. So those kids are not, not being educated right now. They're in a class with 26 kids. They should be in a class with 22 kids. And so they will get that other teacher soon. The principal is looking for somebody now. Theirs posted, and they'll soon say, I found a candidate. And if it's a specific one, we'll have to post specific. But if it's a general one, like an elementary general ed teacher, then that hiring will happen pretty quickly.
Okay, just to follow up on that. I could see that if there are general postings there, it really wouldn't make a difference if you posted for 25 third grade teachers or 5 third grade teachers. The applicant is not going to not submit their materials or their resume based on what the exact number of positions that we're looking for. But to the extent we have specific postings for particular campuses, in agreement with Dr. Blackburn, it doesn't seem like we should be waiting for the principal to process some paperwork before we post it when we know that we need the posting. So I would hope that you all would try to streamline that process rather than have a kind of a waiting point where a principal has to say, okay, yes, we've looked at leveling, we need 3 more third grade teachers or whatever the position happens to be. Human capital management knows that, but then they wait for the principal to come back and say, yes, we do need 3 more positions. So
It can be a same-day process, but we do have to work with school leadership to understand specifically what they want posted. So at the secondary level, you can add a teacher, but we know it may be in various subject areas. So that's where we work together with the campus, but it can be done very quickly.
okay, is it in fact done very quickly?
Yes, I think school leadership would vouch for that, when they are ready to post, we can post same day.
Okay, so with respect to these 137 positions, how many of those are currently posted?
We would have to segment it by certification type that they're seeking. The majority would be there's a posting out there that is similar.
Okay, well, I think what we're getting at is that if there's a delay in this process, we need to figure out a way to eliminate it because we want, obviously, teachers in the classroom. And I do appreciate the great work that Human Capital Management did to start the overall hiring process early and to make sure that we minimize the number of vacancies. I appreciate all that hard work, but this looks like another area where streamlining would be possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchke. Okay, I have a question. Let's just move really quickly back to adult and community education program through December. This is going to be funded through December. We're going to get our money back. You're going to work with some other entity to provide the services until the end of the academic school year. And what happens after that?
The adult education program becomes part of the overall grant with the Workforce Solutions of Dallas.
Okay.
So it will we'll have to decide if it's in our facilities or if it's used in the other facilities that the entity has. That's another question that we need to go down at a later date.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we're clear. Because I think people may be getting the wrong impression that we're supporting or getting behind adult basic education. I heard a lot of claps when we were talking about that. This is until the end of this school year.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, we're looking at a budget amendment through December. The grant has already run out. We're going to hope that another entity will pick up those services through this new grant. We're not supporting that grant because, we're not going to sign that grant because the new workforce grant.
Right.
Because why?
I believe there's some legal language that you have before you that will explain it more. If there are other specific questions, I'll have to ask Jack to join me up here.
Before I ask those questions, and Jack, I might need some help on that one. There has been a rumor going around in the community that has come back to me and maybe potentially other trustees as well, that the new grant will not allow individuals who need to access some of these services to access them if they do not have a Social Security number. Please clarify that for myself, this board, and the rest of the community.
So when the fiscal agent is now the Texas Workforce Commission. And after the sunset, I'm giving you a long history here. So after the Sunset Commission reviewed the grant under the TEA, which was an education grant, they decided they needed to streamline and combine it all into one and give it to the Texas Workforce Commission, to then give it to workforce development boards, local boards, to then become the fiscal agent and manage the grant. That entity, the Workforce Commission, has metrics that is related to workforce readiness. And so that is the intent, is that individuals are trained and then brought back into the workforce for jobs. And so however that looks for an employer, whether it's a Social Security number, I-9, whatever, I don't know that, but they have to be employable at the end of their education.
So let me ask this. Currently, Dallas ISD, in finishing out this grant, is not asking community members who sign up for a Social Security number.
That is correct.
Okay. Let's just hypothetically think for a second, if at the end of the school year, we finish out the services with some entity, not really sure which entity, but some entity, and we don't sign this grant, we potentially lease facilities out to another entity to continue to conduct these services. However, that entity then begins to say, we need to see your Social Security number. A lot of the individuals that potentially were clapping in this room about 10 minutes ago may not be clapping because they're going to be kicked out of those services, hypothetically.
And I wouldn't say kicked out, they just couldn't enroll into the program for the next year.
But currently they're in the program.
Currently, they'll continue on through the program through June.
And then next year, potentially, given these new metrics, they won't be able to go.
That is a possibility.
Okay. So, Mr. Elrod, Mr. Miles, if you can answer this, I'll ask it through you, and then if you can't, then I'll ask Mr. Elrod. Break it down for me pretty simple. I'm not a lawyer. Why aren't we signing this new grant? I've heard 400 some odd pages. There's a memo with legalese. Just make it real simple for me.
We had some issues with the contract that the Texas Workforce Commission wanted to sign. There were some legal issues with that contract that would put the district at risk, and so we didn't sign it for that reason. The specific legal issues, I think Jack and others can define for us.
Can you help me out, Jack?
You've got a memo that Gilbert Garcia, one of our staff attorneys, did that has gone to all of you. That is attorney-client protected. You are the client. I'd prefer if there's real detail that you want to get into, that you just look at that memo. It's very detailed. This whole process is unusual. It's different from anything I've been through. What I would like to do is, this is the document right here that we were sent and told was the contract. And I have never in my 13 years here seen anything like this that the district was asked to sign. It's full of an awful lot of information that doesn't pertain to the contract. It has conflicting information. It has information that has no real bearing on it. The fact is that it's our opinion that it would be very hard for us to protect the district should there be anything come out of this.
Quick question. What other entities have signed that?
As far as I know, all of them.
Do some of those include school systems, school
Yes.
districts?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to be supporting this amendment because I want to make sure that these people get the services. And I'm happy that we're getting our funds back. But I am a little concerned because I get a sense that we perhaps haven't, and this may be unfair, but that we haven't done everything we could potentially do to ensure that we can continue these services. I don't believe the board can force the administration or our general counsel to sign a document that they don't feel comfortable with. And I'm not asking the board to do that at this moment. But what I am asking the administration to do is to help me better understand how we continue to support these individuals that have gone through this program. And here's the reason why. I've heard multiple times in asking questions to get to this point, perhaps this is a philosophical conversation. Do we as a district want to invest district dollars or resources into adult education because it could potentially lead to mission drift? What I mean by that is we're here to educate kids. And we can have that philosophical debate. Or we can have a philosophical debate about what this program does for our kids. I can almost guarantee you that many, if not all, of the individuals that are taking advantage of this program do indeed have kids in this school system. And many of these services that are being provided actually help them prosper as individuals, but more importantly, help them communicate with their kids, get a better understanding of what their children are learning, build relationships with their kids, communicate with their kids, get a better understanding of the district. So for me, it seems like we should be trying as much as possible to come up with solutions to ensure these services aren't dropped next year, and that we don't create new rules for these people who have taken good advantage of this system to better their lives. Why does this matter to me? I would imagine 80 to 90% of the individuals that are part of this program can't vote for me. I don't care about that. I care about making sure that the kids of this school system have every opportunity to succeed, and this grant has provided that. That grant will continue to provide that. So whatever we can do, we need to do to make sure we support that. Thank you. And I want to also do one other thing before I pass the mic for a second round, if there are any other questions, is that my questions to you, staff members, I'm not asking those questions in a way to demean you, to grill you, to put your feet to the fire. I'm asking you these questions because I want to work together with you to come to a positive solution for those people and those children. I appreciate the work that you've done to this point. I'm going to ask you to continue to work hard to make sure we come to a good solution. Any other questions? Dr. Blackburn?
I have a feeling that the administration can be very creative on how to help our parents learn along with our students. We use Title I funds for our most neediest students. It might be possible that our most neediest students might learn alongside of their parents. I'm just saying, it might work. But I think you can be creative. I think you can come up with something. But let me go back to the summer program. We're talking about $170,000. This is $170,000. Does that include some of those 165 additional positions?
I believe not the 165, but it does include, I believe, 2 positions.
So we have 165 positions plus the director and the coordinator.
Correct.
So now we're up to 167 additional people.
Correct.
And earlier, when Trustee Foreman asked about Samuel, you said that the reason for that increase was because of additional staff. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
And how many additional staff are we adding to Samuel Early College?
Well, that's the part of that is in the leveling, and I'm going to provide you where all of the 137 teachers are located.
So the $165,500 that is additional budget for Samuel Early College is not for teachers, not for staff, not for employees?
Some of it is. There's 100,000 in there for textbooks. There's also early duty pay of 5,000, general supplies of 30,000.
So it's not for additional people?
It's not totally for additional people. 15,000 for professional development, and
so we're not paying for additional employees,
For-
additional positions for that school. Is that correct?
we think that that's correct, but we'll double check.
Okay. I think you'll get back to me. Let me go back to the number of teachers. I'm still a little bit concerned that the superintendent had a mission, a goal of having 0 vacancies at the beginning of school. And I believe we came up either 6 or 16 short. 16 short. Very admirable. So once we finish leveling, did we still have only 16 additional positions?
I don't know on that particular day, but this would be 137 above what we originally had budgeted for. So as you know, it was perceived need by school leadership and human capital management that those teachers were critical and needed to be added.
Yeah. You know, I'm a little bit disturbed that someone identified where we needed positions, what grade level, what subjects. Somebody identified that through leveling, that we needed additional teachers, we needed additional clerks, we needed additional counselors. Someone identified that and yet, right now, we don't know where those positions
we do know where they are, I just not able to bring them to you, and I don't think it was a somebody, I think it was all of the 5 associate superintendents and the 25 executive directors working with, 223 principals who said, and looked at their need and looked at class sizes and said, look, this is what we need that we think that will help us be successful in our academic program and help us with succeeding to bring about the academic improvement in this school district that we want.
Yeah. I am very hopeful that we did not overhire at the beginning of the school year. I am very hopeful that we did not overhire. And I am still somewhat surprised. Now, I wasn't here at the briefing to ask these same questions, because I would have asked you then to tell me where these positions are going. And evidently, neither one of my colleagues asked that. So I'm sorry to take a little bit of time now.
No
But I
problem.
will be sending you an email asking you where each of those 165 positions will
You'll
be
have those
going.
tomorrow.
And I'll also ask you, of those 16 vacancies that we had on the first day of school, did we still have all those teachers in place somewhere throughout the district after leveling? Because it sounds like we didn't do a good enough job of projecting the number of students that we would have, nor where they would be, nor what subject and grade levels.
Our demographic department does a really excellent job. They're usually less than 2% variance from what they project. So for a school district this size, they do a wonderful job.
Yeah, $6.5 million off.
Remember, it was only 500 students, so if it's 500 students divided by, almost 250 schools, that's, less than 2 students per school. And if
Divide
each school's
500
got,
students by 137 teachers, approximately how many do we have then? I understand how you guys are looking at it. You're spreading it out across the number of schools.
Right.
We're talking about students. So if we have 500 students more than we projected, that's about, 2, 3 to 1.
but you really got to look at 10,000 classrooms, and you're trying to put 500 students into 10,000 classrooms. And then if you look at the percentage that way, it's infinitesimally small. And the demographics department does an excellent job.
So in other words, you're telling me that the class size waiver is just a formality for right now, that with these extra 137
Not
teachers,
a formality,
we might be able
it's
to.
a measurement date
You have to report that to TA, that's what I'm saying.
on a measurement date.
So with the 80 classes, most of them are 1 or 2 or 3 students off. And I'm thinking at Harris-Stone, we have 5 classes that are off. So Harris-Stone could potentially get at least 1 additional teacher. And maybe all these 80 classrooms will not need to have more than 22 students. But I'll wait for the information that you're going to have for me tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. Trustee Noto?
I had a question. To understand the adult workforce, can you just clarify what classes do they offer for? Oh.
GED, ESL, and then civics, a civics class. I think those are the only 3 that we offer.
And it's how many?
Students, 2,300.
2,300. And so with the GED, ESL, and civics classes.
And bulk of them are ESL.
Huh?
A bulk of them are ESL.
The bulk is ESL. So for the other, are they all our parents, or is it some students who graduated?
They're our parents.
The majority, all of them are parents. And so for the other parents, what are we doing for the other ones? What kind of services are we offering for the other parents?
I'm sorry, could
Because
you?
this is just 2,300.
Right. I'm sorry, it's an open enrollment. Anybody can come. We put out flyers, we market it. So are you saying the other parents within the district?
So when we get ready to, you said we're going to outsource it, are we going to look at strategic areas like Oak Cliff, North Dallas, Pleasant Grove, to make sure we're covering all? Because it's at one place. Where is it now?
It's in 4 places.
4, okay.
So there's 3 in the district and then 1 in Carrollton ISD.
Oh.
That we use their facility.
And our parents,
Go there.
they're all DISD parents.
They go there.
So we can't take outside parents.
We can take anyone, but it's mostly marketed to our parents.
So the 2,300 are all DISD parents?
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Noto. Trustee Jones?
I think we have to be very careful how we talk about this. I mean, first of all, I want to commend the Workforce Commission for the work that they've been doing, as well as our Workforce Solutions of Greater Dallas and their support. But I do want to echo something that Trustee Solis has talked about, which is we really are here for our parents. And what we really need to do is up our resources as it relates to educating the whole family and bringing families together in the education system. And I believe that that's where we should be looking to find the resources necessary to supplement what otherwise the state has provided and otherwise what we've worked from. And I commend the district for starting that process. But, you know, let's not dance around this bush. It is important that parents are part of our education process. And it is very important that we engage parents and help educate them so they can be better advocates and better educators in the homes of the children. So, you know, how we get that done, President Solis, that I believe should be part of our parent engagement and parent strategy. But I want to go back to the budget right now with respect to the numbers. I had a number from you, I believe it was Dr. Terry, that the projected enrollment based on the budget expectation was 161,477. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
So what you're saying is that we're not at 161,477, we're at another 2,500 on top of that?
No, it turns out it's another 500.
So we're still over 100, we're almost at 162,000 in total
Correct.
enrollment as of today. So
Not as today, as of leveling. Remember, the way leveling works is that we have to choose a day, and we try to choose the day that's
Fair
the
enough.
highest enrollment. And enrollment usually will then start to decline over the rest of the year.
So we peaked arguably at nearly 162,000, and what
Correct.
you're saying is that's where we leveled. And based
Correct.
on that leveling, we're adding another 100, or you said 130,
137
Teachers.
teachers and another 28.
but at the
Campus.
same time, we're asking for waivers. So connect the dots for me. So the waivers are based on what? If we've got the faculty and we've managed to do the proportionality in terms of adding additional teachers, that's not what I'm...
Well, I could go into it and tell you about, you know, the number of classrooms and how the classrooms break out. And again, the best example that I can give you is if you have 124 teachers, 124 students in a classroom, and you go and you divide that into 2, you now have a teacher teaching 12 students each. So, you know, that causes you to have more teachers. But also it depends on the classrooms within a grade level, within a school, okay, that can cause you, as an example, you may have you may have a school in which there is not another classroom, so you can't divide that. So it depends on a particular school.
Yeah, I understand that, but the thing the math that isn't making sense to me is how it all balances out. We've got a number of schools at overcapacity with classrooms that they can't expand because they have nowhere to go. And as a result, they're handicapped or prevented from adding additional sections for teachers because there's no place to teach. So we've got a whole host of that going on in the district. In addition to that, you're telling me that the actual population was well in excess of what we projected, and then based on leveling, we need to add more capacity by way of teachers. However, at the same time, we're being told that we need to, level, put more kids in a classroom. Something's not adding up.
Well, I don't think that, missing 500 and divide that by 162,000, you're going to find that projection is less than, 2%. So actually less than 1%, so the projection's not bad, but then you have to go into what the principals, and remember, it's a principal that determines, what they need in terms of the educational program for the kids. And the executive directors within the cluster and the associate superintendents, they all get together and they decide that, this is what we feel for our academic program we need in order to be successful.
I'm not arguing with the increase, and certainly to the extent that we have crowded classrooms, it's better that we try to manage to where teachers have a load that they can do with some sort of meaningful support. So obviously we don't want 30 or 40 or 50 kids in a classroom. It's not in the student's best interest. It's certainly not in the teacher's best interest. But I'm just trying to understand, the numbers to me just don't add up. And I think what might make sense is to go campus by campus and show how it plays out.
And I will provide you that information tomorrow. I will provide the whole board the information as to where they're all broken out at.
So how many vacancies do we have?
I can tell you this too, is that those numbers we ran for comparability, and the numbers are comparable across the district.
So that's good. That was another question I had, so thank you for preempting that. But how many vacancies for teachers do we have as of today? Absent this 137 leveling number?
It would be approximately 60 absent this number.
So we have 60 vacancies since the start of the year, so the 16 went up to 60?
Well, you have moving parts. So you have teachers who may have resigned since the first day or passed away, whatever the case may be. In addition, as people are leaving, principals are still staffing. So it's not just a clean number in terms of it's been static. So you do have the leveling additions, but you have movement even in that other number as well.
Okay. So if that could be factored into the analysis, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustees, any more comments? Okay, Trustee Mitchkay.
I would just like to get that particular number, the number of teachers who have resigned since the beginning of the year, and the number of teachers we've hired since the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Mitchkay. Trustee Cowan.
Just quickly, I want to voice my support with the other trustees, and especially President Solis. We had this adult basic education conversation maybe 4 or 5 years ago with Dr. Hinojosa, and it always comes around to what our purpose is and who are we here to serve. We also need to remember we're also here to serve adults who are charged with getting our students to school on time, to sit with them in their living room and help them read. So anything we can do to help support that mission, I'm supportive of, and I look for you to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cowan. Trustees, any more comments? Any questions? Okay, trustees, hearing none, please cast your votes.
Motion passes, 9 voting yes.
Okay, trustees, you've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the budget amendments for October 22nd, 2014. Our next item is 7A.3 to approve the monthly financial reports and the monthly tax report for the period ending August 31st, 2014. Consent item number 3, pulled by trustees Bernadette Nuttall and Joyce Foreman. Do I have a motion? It's been moved by trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, trustees, please cast your votes.
Trustee Foreman? Motion passes 9-0.
You've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the monthly financial reports and the monthly tax report for the period ending August 31st, 2014. Our next item is 7A.14, to authorize, negotiate, and enter into agreements to repair running tracks, tennis courts, and athletic fields for district-wide use, not to exceed $1 million for the remaining term of the buy-board contract, expiring February 28, 2015. General operating funds. Consent item number 14, pulled by Trustees Joyce Foreman and Bernadette Nuttall. Trustees, do I have a motion? So moved. It's been moved by Trustee Bingham, seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, is there any discussion? Yes. Trustee Foreman.
I think at the board briefing, we asked which tracks we're talking about.
Yes, ma'am, and it's uploaded in the tracker, trustee tracker.
Okay, as of
So,
today?
yesterday, I believe.
Yesterday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you just tell me what they are? Because I really
Sure.
don't look at the tracker every day.
Okay. Sprague, Brian Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Samuel, Spruce, Lincoln, and Seagoville High. And that's for track resurfacing, track base replacing the surface, and for Seagoville, it's the tennis court.
Okay, so that's Sprague, Brian Adams, Spruce, Seagoville High.
Thomas Jefferson, Lincoln. It's 7 altogether.
Okay.
On that first list, we've identified over $2 million worth. This is just the first iteration. We are prioritizing based on what the worst tracks across the district and tennis courts across the district.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustees, any more comments or questions? Hearing none, trustees, please cast your votes.
Trustee Morath. Motion passes 9-0.
Trustees, you just adopted the motion, thereby approving the authorized, negotiate, and enter into agreements to repair running tracks, tennis courts, and athletic fields for district-wide use, not to exceed $1 million for the remaining term of the buy-board contract expiring February 28, 2015. General operating funds. Our next item is 7A.17, to authorize, negotiate, and enter a contract with various recommended vendors for college and career readiness programs and services, HB 5, not to exceed $10 million over 3 years for district-wide use. 1 year with 2 renewable options, general special revenue funds. Consent item number 17, pulled by Trustees Bernadette Nuttall and Joyce Foreman. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Trustee Jones. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Bingham. Trustee Bingham. Trustee, is there any conversation?
Is this particular contract, are they going to work with our 8th graders?
Before you begin, just for the record, Trustee Solis is stepping out because of a potential conflict. Thank you.
Trustee Nuttall, it was meant for the high school students, but as we know, the 8th graders are in the process. 8th graders become in the process of selecting their endorsements, so it's possible that we might use some of these for 8th graders, but these were primarily meant for the House Bill 5, the new endorsements, and trying to make sure that they had, there were options for campuses to have additional support for the House Bill 5 endorsements.
Because this is the first 9th grade group that had to.
This year's 9th graders are the first group with the new endorsements, that's correct.
So how many 9th graders we currently, do you know the?
How many 9th graders? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm just saying, this is the first class that have to participate in House Bill 5.
That's correct.
It seems to me that we would start with our 8th graders because they have to pick that endorsement, because these 9th graders are going to 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our 8th graders that have to pick that endorsement and sign which plan, because you get 4 extra credits for your endorsement and which track you're going to go on.
Yeah.
Because also your 10th grade year, you can change your endorsement, correct?
After your 10th grade year. You need to keep your endorsement for 2 years, and at the end of the 10th grade year, you could change if you wanted to.
So these particular vendors will not be working with any of our current, to help them understand, because that would determine.
Yeah. If I could, you know, I said that it's primarily for our high schools, but there's nothing in the bid or anything like that that says we couldn't work with 8th graders. So point well made on your part, and if there are some needs at 8th grade, I'm sure that we could use these vendors. There's no prohibition. There was not a prohibition for them to, have to stay at high school.
Because I think starting now
Yeah.
with our 8th graders to
Mhm.
talk about the importance of the endorsement and developing your sequence for your endorsement, we need to start with 8th graders, so when they hit their 9th grade year, they're not just.
You're absolutely right. And of course, our campuses do a really good job of helping them understand their choices. But if any of the campuses would like to use some of the vendors that could help,
So
I
is
don't see
this-
why not.
So is this support going to go through the counseling department to kind of, so the students, these
You know,
vendors
there-
are helping the counselors with the endorsements and making sure all students.
We could do that. Counselors could use them. There might be a principal who says, hey, we'd like to have some of these, there's various kinds of services, and maybe a principal feels like maybe there could be a parent meeting or some parent workshops to help parents understand. There's just a variety of different services. So counselors, principals, other kinds of things could be done.
I would like to, because I really would love a parent workshop for our middle schools, definitely in District 9, because this House Bill 5 is really helping parents to understand the importance of House Bill 5 in the Algebra 2, and being able to graduate in the different graduation plans, and figuring out what schools to give them that
Yeah.
support, and teachers that support. So is this service going to be able to?
We could, what I hear you asking for is maybe some parent workshops around the district on House Bill 5, and especially in District 9, and yes, we can provide that. It's possible that staff could provide those kinds of workshops, but we may use other providers as well. So we'll work with you on that, or we'll work with the principals.
Yeah, there's one that we want to do in the Comstock neighborhood
Okay,
to
sure.
Get more parents to understand House
Yeah.
Bill 5, because I had listened and learned, and that was
Lot
a
of
major
questions.
concern, House Bill 5, and how we are preparing our students for this House Bill 5.
Absolutely. We want to make sure parents are really clear, so we'd like to do that.
And so,
Trustees, I'm sorry. Trustees, any other questions? Trustee Foreman, then Trustee Jones.
This is just a quick question. There are lots of vendors on here with a lot of different services. How do the principals and schools get the information about these different services that are on here?
If Ms. Tate is here, I think the procurement department helps principals understand what their options are in terms of services that are available.
She's coming.
Good, I'm
She's
glad that somebody's
coming.
coming to rescue me here.
She's coming.
The principals, and I do know this, principals oftentimes will ask central staff, teaching and learning staff, and their assistant sup, or somebody like that, how can I find X, Y, or Z? But I know Ms. Tate's department does a good job too, so.
Dr. Smisko. Actually, on the intranet within the district, we have a principals center. And on the principals center, we provide them a list of educational consultants, of the professional development consultants that are available. And we would actually put this list out there for them so that they could see who's available. They're certainly always willing to, help them. They can give us a call. We can tell them what services that are available from each of the vendors. So we try to put it out there where they can see it, and it's available to all of them.
Yes. And I'll just make one last quick statement, which gives me a little pause. I looked up the relationship with Office Depot, and it's like with C2 Communications.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
But the thing that bothered me the most is that on their website, they spoke highly about Common Core standards, which are not used in the state of Texas. And so that gave me a little pause when I saw that.
Understood. And we, of course, in Texas do not use the Common Core standards, but although many national companies work towards that. So any vendor that would come and work in the district, we would make very clear to them that we're working with the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and that's our curriculum.
I just want you to know I saw it.
All right, thank you for that.
Thank you. Trustee Jones?
Thank you. First, I just want to say that, the continued investment we make in making sure we've got the resources to support our college and career readiness certainly is a good investment, and just want to commend a number of folks throughout the district who continue to work this. My concerns that I'd sort of like to address tonight come back to this problem of how do we know the vendor resourcing that's coming through is really meeting the needs? And the issue of assessment of use and its efficacy continues to kind of bother me. We allocate, or we determine that we should be spending money in areas, and no problem with that, but then you do want to make sure that the resources that are utilized truly do meet our students' needs, and also are of a very high standard in terms of their quality and their effectiveness. So I just want to reiterate that point, and like to see more follow-up and reporting out of resources that do get used and whether they are meeting our children's needs, especially as it relates to our goals around college and career readiness. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees. Please cast your votes.
The motion passes 8 voting yes and 1 recusal.
Thank you, trustees. We're now to item number 5, put for a separate vote. Consider and take possible action to approve the maximum class size waiver application of waiving EEB legal to the Texas Education Agency for fall 2014. No financial impact. Consent agenda item number 23 is pulled by trustees Joyce Foreman and Bernadette Nuttall. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by trustee Bingham. Do we have a second? I second. Trustees, any questions, concerns? No? Okay.
No, not that fast.
At least I gave you a chance.
You are not that
Trustee Foreman?
I think trustee Nuttall was wanting to
Trustee
go
Nuttall.
first.
Size waiver. Originally, in District 9, we had 47 class size waivers, and we got them down to like 22. But in one particular school, Truett, we went from 6 to just 5. So, but some schools we went from 6 to 0. Is that a reason why we couldn't get to 0 for all of them?
I don't know the details of every single school, so, but in that case, the 5 are 23, they're just one over, and part of the rationale there is you really want to, well, you don't want to be, before we allocate another teacher, it needs to make sense that you were going to take those class sizes down from 23 to something like 15 or 16 if you allocate another teacher and split the classes from 5 to 6. So we're trying to be, to the previous conversation about the budget, we're trying to be judicious about where we add the teacher and whether or not it makes sense to have a class size of, say, 15 or 16. So when it's one over like that, our typical thing is that we leave it at one over.
Truett still have 5 class size waiver.
5 waivers, but each class
This
is
is
only
just-
1 student over. So one class has 23 students instead of the 22. So it still needs a waiver because it's over by 1.
Just the
Now, we
one.
could, okay, yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's 5 of them, but each class is only 1 student over. So it counts for 5 waivers.
So we cut it down to 80 waivers.
Yes, ma'am. We worked with the campuses and added quite a number of staff to make sure that we had only 80, down from 200 or something last year. So we've made a lot of progress.
I guess I'm just trying to understand, how do we determine, is it just like some, for instance, in D8, there are only 3 waivers, in D4, 7 waivers, D7 is 23 waivers, and D3 is 27 waivers. So did we try to balance it to make sure?
The D7?
The district.
Oh, I'm so
When
sorry.
when we looked at the
Trustee
data, just to
districts.
kind of
Got
look
it.
at where the
Now I
majority of the
understand.
waivers. And District 9 had 47 waivers, and one of them was in Imagine 2020 school. We got that 12 waivers down to 1 waiver.
I see.
And then in one school, we got 6 waivers down to 4, and in one particular school, we kept both. They didn't get any of their waivers.
Right. They still have the waivers, is
They
what you're
still
saying.
have the waivers that.
Well, I can't speak to particular trustee districts because we just work with the individual campuses, one by one. And And that's what I can say about it. It's a very much a case-by-case basis. As Dr. Terry mentioned earlier, sometimes the building itself won't, allow us to split the class because there's no more rooms to move to. Other times it's just one over. Sometimes it's maybe two over, so it's, 24 or 25 students in the class, but the teacher is just really strong. She's worked with 25 or 26 kids, and the principal feels very comfortable. So it's an individual conversation between the executive director, the principal, and HCM for each one. So they are very much done on a one-on-one basis.
Okay, and the double asterisk means there's a permanent sub support in that room?
The double asterisk means the permanent sub, and the single asterisk is we added a TA to help support that, to support the teacher in the classroom.
Because two first grader class have like 26 students, and you added the TA in there.
That's correct, to help support the teacher and the students, of course.
But with 26 and 25, could we have added a third, cut that in half and make an extra class?
Well, again, if you think about 22 to 1, you're only over by 5 kids. So you're really making very small class sizes. I mean, could we have? Possibly. I don't know that campus, whether or not it had an extra classroom or not. But we're trying to be, hit the sweet spot. You're not so much over that the teacher can't handle it, and you're not creating a whole lot of class sizes of 12 and 13.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee. Thank you, Trustee Nuttall. Trustee Foreman, then Trustee Mitchkay, then Trustee Jones.
It would be really nice for me to understand which districts have the most waivers, and particularly in the kinder grade. Because I'm a little bit concerned about that. I see quite a few. We're supposed to be giving the kids a head start. And if we are asking for waivers for kinder, are we doing what we say?
Well, again, we'd really work individually, and so each case is a little bit more specific to the situation on the ground. Kinder, you're right, we have 13 waivers. We have, more at some of the other grades, so it's one of the lower grades. I can't speak to specifics,
And I'm really not asking for specifics, but I'm talking about philosophy.
Right. Well, and again, even at kinder, the philosophy is that, we try to get to 22. We try to make sure that if we're going to split classes, it's a good way to split it. It's not, lowering the numbers so far that the classes are very small. Sometimes at kindergarten, at all the grades, sometimes if there's general education classes and bilingual education classes and one's way over, and it's over enough that you might want to split it, but you can't really take some of those bilingual kids and put them in a general ed class, so there's an unbalance there. So sometimes that's part of the reason that though we go over by a couple of students in one of those classes, because you can't really split that class. Say it's at 24, you'd have 2 classes of 12 because you can't take some of those students and put them in the general ed class, or vice versa. So, see what I'm saying? It's just very fact specific for each case.
And I understand that, but again, mine is based on philosophy, and trying to make sure that if we are going to invest money, a lot of money, in pre-K and kinder, that we make sure that the class sizes are something that's manageable for the teachers, and the children will get the best.
That's our goal.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustee Mitchkay.
Well, I missed the board briefing, so if I am asking some questions that have already been covered, I apologize. First, how many total classes do we have in kindergarten through 4th grade that are subject to the 22 student class limitation?
So you're looking at right about 3,500 between K to 4.
3,500, okay. And I was trying to count these numbers while I was scrolling up and down, and I'm not sure I got exactly the right number, but it appears we have about 50 classes that have 23 students in it.
Okay.
About 20 classes that have 24 students, and 10 classes that have 25, and I think 2 that have 26. Are those numbers consistent with what you have there?
I trust your math, trustee.
Okay. Well, so what we're saying is that with respect to 3,420 classes, we are 22 or less in those classes. And then we're dealing with 80 classes that are over 22. And 50 out of the 80 are over by one student.
Correct.
And 20 are over by 2 students, and 10 are over by 3 students, and 2 are over by 4 students. And it looked like in most of those cases where there were 25 and 26, you had asterisks there that indicated that there was a TA in there, and actually in some of the 20 classes that are 23 and 24. So it looks to me like while I don't ever want to go over the class size limits, I do understand the practicalities of having space. And Truett Elementary is a good example. It's actually in District 3. It used to be in District 9. Truett is a school that was overcrowded for years. We've had several classes that had students over 30 students in those classes. A new wing is being constructed there. We did pull out some of the portables to the great relief of the community over there. So the fact that we have 5 classes that are 1 student over, it is an improvement from the way things used to be, but it's only one student over, and we don't have the space. Until that wing is built, we don't have the space unless we start dragging portables back to the campus. In terms of other districts, I saw a press report that indicated that Houston has 1,500 class size waivers, and we have 80.
Right.
Then I looked at the TEA website to see what Highland Park did, and I looked. They have 4 elementary schools, and they have 8 waivers. So basically, 2 class size waivers for each elementary school. If we gross that up, just for comparison purposes, if we had 2 for every one of our 150 elementary schools, that would give us 300 waivers. So, and then I think in the press reports, there's an indication that a lot of districts are exceeding, to some extent, the class size limitations and asking for waivers. Again, I just think the context is important. If we're doing 20 times better than Houston and 4 times better than Highland Park, that context is meaningful to assess whether or not we have a crisis because we have 80 classes that are somewhat over the limit. Now, I'd like to get to 100%, but I think we also need to get the context of where were we over the last couple of years? Where were we in year ending 2012, year ending 2013, year ending 2014? Do you have those class size?
I have the last couple of years. 2012-13, we had 410. 2013-14, we had 209. So,
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're moving in the right direction. I do know that in some of the schools where there are, in District 3, where there are class size waivers, they're usually just one over in the class, and we've got severe space issues. And that's why we do need that Future Facilities Task Force to give us some recommendations so that we can figure out how to accommodate the students where they live. So I'm going to support the waivers, even though I don't like going over class size waivers at all, but the class size limit at all. But I appreciate the fact that since the board briefing, you were able to reduce the number of waivers from 130-something to 80.
156.
156. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchke. Trustee Jones?
Thank you. I was wanting to echo the same. I mean, it went from 156 down to the 80. Although philosophically, I feel anytime you have at the early years a classroom with more than target number, it really isn't in the best interest of the children. I'm concerned specifically in District 1, we had 14, we're down to 11. Bush really stands out to me. Can you tell me what's going on there as far as why the number of waivers at Bush is as high as it is?
I probably can't. Let's see. I don't even see. Oh, there it is. It's on
It's
the
at the
list.
bottom.
Yes,
It's the
yes,
last
ma'am.
one.
I see it now.
Yeah. So there we're showing 2 in grade 1, 2 different waivers, and then in grade 3.
I think that's all day is about to come right here and save my.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So at Bush, we do have it down to 3. If that's, the most current one is we now have a total of 3, where 2 of them are at grade 1. Both of those are at 23, 1 over, and the other one is at grade 3. Those are also due to, Trustee Jones, as I know you're aware, we have a space issue there in terms of classrooms. So while we did have the opportunity to add a teacher, the space limitations, the teachers together with the principal, as long as we would provide them some support. So we do have some TA support for those classrooms. It is a facility issue.
Yeah, and that raises a point that I'd like to reemphasize, which is we've known about this space problem for quite some time. The growth up in that area in the entire W.T. White feeder pattern has been very well established. We've got schools that are well at overcapacity, and we can't wait for a Future Facilities Task Force to address it. It's not fair to children to play a space allocation issue when realistically we should be making sure they have what they need, not what is easier to work around our constraints. And I just want to emphasize that because that planning, should have started 2 years ago, because the growth projections continue to outstrip space in a lot of our elementary schools, which brings me to Withers. What's going on there? Because the issue on programmatically on things like the two-way dual language, this is also impacting. So can you talk for a second about that? This is in second grade.
Correct. And in second grade, what happens is because of the number of students that are actually in the two-way versus those that are in a strictly bilingual accommodation with the numbers, the other 3 class sizes in second grade are actually far below the 22. I've got 20, 20, and 11 in 3 other classrooms, and the other class was at 24. So adding a teacher for 2 students in that particular setting with the other class sizes, again,
So how does this impact, is this at all impacting the two-way dual language program?
we provided the 2-way dual language, the number of teachers that they needed so that they would have the appropriate accommodation. It did not affect that particular number.
Okay, great, that's good to hear. And then,
In fact, that was a unit that was added in advance. The principal contacted me and the executive director in advance, and we did provide a teacher before the leveling.
good, because that was a huge
Yes,
concern,
ma'am.
and I'm glad to see that that got reconciled and successfully resolved. I just want to emphasize again, I recognize you went from a very large number down, and 80 is still higher than 0, but relative to what I'm hearing from Houston and some of our other districts, it sounds like we're not doing as badly. But to me, it's still a philosophical issue, as I've heard before, that any time we have a classroom that isn't effective for the teaching side, then we're not doing our job. So I appreciate the hard work you all put into this.
And there was a TA also added to that campus.
Yeah, but I do feel this capacity issue can't wait. I mean, we've got places around the district where we're well out of whack, and it's affecting our children, and it's not fair to them, and it's something that I hope the administration will address immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustees, any more questions? Okay, Trustee Foreman.
One real quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So does the district adhere to the 22 to 1, or did the district at one point vote for 23 to 1?
Mr. Miles, do you know?
Yes, sir. We went up to 24 to 1, I think, in 2012, 2013. A year ago, we went to 23 to 1, and this year we're back to 22 to 1.
The reason I asked that question, because I think it's the board needs to understand that it's changed. The district has changed it. It wasn't 22 to 1. But we were all working under the assumption that it had been 22 to 1. Is that correct? So when you look at the class size waivers for the other years, there's not the same comparison.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, in 2011, 2012, the class sizes went up mostly due to budget constraints, resource constraints, and we've been pulling it down since then.
I understand that, but I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustees, please cast your votes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Trustees, you just adopted the motion thereby approving the maximum class size waiver application waiving EEB legal to the Texas Education Code for fall 2014 with no financial impact. We're now on to item 7A.25 to approve the 84th Texas Legislative Agenda, no financial impact. Consent item number 25, pulled by Trustees Joyce Foreman and Bernadette Nuttall. Do I have a motion? Moved by Trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, is there any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Foreman?
Hold on one second, I'm trying to find it. One second here, I'm looking for it. What's all these papers? First and foremost, I think the legislative agenda is on the right track with the mission of the district. The only thing that I might have a little pause on is where we talk about the teacher evaluation.
Okay.
And I think we've had this conversation about that, to make sure that we don't try to impose on other districts thoughts of TEI and teacher evaluation. So I want to make that extremely clear what my position is overall. I think it's on the right track. One specific item regarding the evaluation system, I do not want to try to impose to other districts that that's the only way to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustees, any other questions? Okay, Trustee Jones and then Trustee Nuttall.
On personnel matters under evaluations, I went out and did some research and couldn't find any other district or where that last one on non-Chapter 21 personnel evaluations remaining confidential comes from. Can you give me some background on which districts also support this particular platform, or whether this is supported by TASB?
I don't know specifically about TASB, but I do know that it was in one of our legislative packages sometime. Hold on.
During the briefing, it was stated that this came from other districts that supported it. I understand the logic that was given to us about why this district may want to advance that position, but the comment was made that this was supported by other districts and also by a broader agenda, and I'm just trying to understand that, because I could find no evidence of that.
I don't know if this one is specifically. I don't recall, and I apologize if I'm misled, but I do know that in our 82nd legislative session, it was seek legislation to ensure the evaluation confidentially does not exclude district officials authorized by the district. So it has been in our legislative package before, and I do not know specifically on TASB. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, so hold on. As far as TASB, it is not one of the ones that is bulleted on keeping them confidential. Okay, we can poll the other districts and get the information.
Well, we're being asked to approve this tonight, and I'd rather eliminate that for tonight if we can't justify it versus voting for it and then finding out there are no other districts.
May I, sir?
Sure.
I think our part of this legislative agenda is not really dependent on other districts supporting or not supporting. We think this is a good idea for our district. We know that we have some other districts that have supported it, but I would hope that the trustees would look at the merits of the requests, this part of the agenda, as it's stated, and not have to rely on other districts here.
And Trustee Jones, I was speaking with Houston earlier last week, and we were talking about the legislative package, and they didn't say any concerns about that, the evaluations. There was no discussion on it, and so I don't know what other, I'll have to find out specifically.
Well, I have concerns because, you know, if it's just us and arguably there's no other support, or it's not a priority or otherwise focus area for these other districts, frankly, I don't think it makes much sense. I mean, because you're setting up a very different perspective about overall evaluations. I believe in transparency, and part of the purpose of why this is currently the way it is exactly to underscore transparency for performance. So from where I'm sitting, this, especially for employees who are at will and also should be evaluated, and there should be some perspective about that. It seems contradictory to say that that should be confidential when in today's world it's not. So I really have severe heartburn on that, and unless I know that a lot of other districts and the logic of why that would make sense for school districts throughout the state to want to support it, I really don't feel comfortable supporting that last part of our legislative agenda.
May I say something? I'm not involved with this right now, but in legislative legislative sessions past, I have been, and I've worked with our representatives down at the Capitol, and they've always been very quick to tell us if we were the only one on something or if there was no other support for it. And in the legislative sessions I've worked in the past, that has not been the case. I can't name the schools, but I know we're not the only one that want this.
Well, I mean, the problem is that if you're going to build an agenda, you also want to know who are your other supporters and where the consensus for this type of change is going to come from. And we are a large district, but we're not the only district. I mean, there's 1,030 school districts in the state of Texas, and I went out and looked and couldn't find any other district where this was part of their legislative agenda. So I was curious, because the comment had been made during our briefing that there were others in support. Who are they? And that be duly disclosed. So, hence the question.
Trustees, if Trustee Jones or any other trustee, if there are concerns about the legislative agenda, we can go through the amendment process or continue the conversation. So if there's any amendment, we can entertain that or continue the discussion.
Well, you know, if that's the nature of how we're going to handle this, then I would be more than happy to make an amendment to strike that until such time as we can see what the overall support looks like and then revisit it at that time. I don't feel comfortable acting on this tonight without what was stated in the briefing, but there is no evidence for.
Okay, there's a motion that's been made to amend the legislative agenda, striking out. Can you please read the specific line?
It's the last item under personnel matters evaluation. Support legislation to ensure non-Chapter 21 personnel evaluations remain confidential and not available to the public.
Did you capture that, Faye? Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Trustee Nuttall. Trustees, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, trustees, please cast your votes. All those in favor of the motion as amended to strike out, please read the language one more time.
The third bullet under Personnel Matters Evaluation, support legislation to ensure non-Chapter 21 personnel evaluations remain confidential and not available to the public.
All those in favor of the motion as amended, please raise your hands.
Vote.
Please cast your votes. Oh, you got it on there, man. That's fancy.
Okay, the motion fails. 4 voting yes and 5 voting no.
Trustees, we're back on the main motion. First round of discussion. Trustee Nuttall.
When I met with you, Ms. Blackman, I had concerns and I had requested from TASB what is some of the things that TASB's putting forth down in Austin.
I don't recall. I thought we were talking about the finance part of that. I can get you more information on the TASB.
Yeah, what are some, do you know offhand some of the things that they're putting
I
forth?
do have their board briefs that they send out, and it's implementation and graduation plans for HB5, pre-K, full-day pre-K, instructional materials allotment, school facilities allotment, transportation, education service cares. So they do have an array. It does mirror some of the things that we have.
But the personnel part, did they have anything
It
on
is
the
not
personnel?
showing on here.
Agree with Trustee Jones and Trustee Foreman on the personnel part. If I understand correctly, on the evaluation part, it went away. It went away. But the evaluation part, number one, is to remain the TEI in place.
Right.
Even if the state changes and mandate, we want to keep this TEI in place, and so we're...
To keep our evaluation system intact.
Okay.
As is.
All the other stuff is in line with TASB, but the last 3 things I cannot support.
Thank you, Trustee Nuttall. Trustees, is there any more conversation? Before we go on, on the first round, we'll go Trustee Mitchke and then Trustee Cowan.
Just a point of information, looking at the TASB legislative agenda, and I'll just read this. TASB advocates for less intrusive state government through the recognition that the best outcomes occur when the state partners with locally elected school boards. This includes school board authority over school calendars, evaluating teacher performance, greater flexibility in setting tax rates, and compensatory education funds.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchke. Trustee Cowan. No questions? Okay. Before we go to the second round, I just want to thank you, Paula Blackman, and your team for the efforts that you put into crafting the legislative agenda. You did a phenomenal job. I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to trustees as well to entertain our questions, concerns, and ideas. So thank you. Trustee Jones.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I didn't want to lose the actual message tonight, which is that there are a number of key priorities on here that are very important, like pre-kindergarten, our funding formulas, and making sure our technology allotment are there. Certainly, we don't want to not underscore the importance of those. And I do support the teacher evaluation. My concern specifically is on this last part on evaluations. This is out of the range of what other districts are advocating, and I do not think that it's in the interest of any district to have, to get around transparency that other districts are still held to. And it's my understanding this is not a priority of any other district. This was something that's coming strictly from Dallas ISD, and that was my reason for calling it out. So I do appreciate, to the extent that that's been a statement that's been put before this body, that others do support it. I'd like to know who they are, and I'd like to see some documentation on that, and I didn't want to lose that either. But I'm very uncomfortable with that last one unless there is widespread support that we are endorsing something that is counter to the interest of the rest of the state and also to the interest of open meetings, open records, and transparency around public employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustees, any more comments? Hearing none, trustees, please cast your votes.
Motion passes, 8 voting yes and 1 voting no.
Trustees, you've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the 84th Texas Legislative Agenda with no financial impact. Our next item is 7A.32 to approve the investment training providers for fiscal year 2014-2015. Consent item number 32, pulled by Trustees Joyce Foreman and Bernadette Nuttall. Do I have a motion? It's moved by Trustee Bingham. Do I have a second? Okay, seconded by Dr. Blackburn. Trustees, their discussion.
Yes.
Trustee Foreman.
You can close the book.
Good evening.
I just wanted to tell you that I often have comments about things that I think are wrong. This time I think you got it right. And I looked at the number of minority firms that were involved in this process. And as a trustee who is a former business owner and certainly understand that overall we should be trying to bring everybody to the table, I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustees, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, please cast your votes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Trustees, you've just adopted the motion, thereby approving the investment training providers for fiscal year 2014-2015. And we are now on to our final item, 7A.36, to approve interlocal agreement between Dallas Independent School District and City of Dallas for the use of the Cotton Bowl for the UIL football game between Lincoln High School and Madison High School, November 7, 2014, not to exceed $13,000 out of the general operating funds. Consent item number 36, pulled by trustees. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Trustee Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Nuttall. Trustees, any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Nuttall and then Trustee Foreman.
I want to thank the City of Dallas for this collaboration. I see Tiffany with the Park Board is still here. Thank you, Tiffany Young, and Dominguez, and the Athletic Director. I don't know your name. Garza. This is a big game in South Dallas, and I think South Dallas needs this. And having this game at the South Dallas Super Bowl is what it's called, between Lincoln and Madison at the Cotton Bowl. It's a great opportunity. It's the first time that we were able to pull this off. So we really, really appreciate Councilwoman Davis to get this price to a good price that the district can handle. And so we appreciate you, Tiffany, because I know you were out of town. and you made it happen. So tell Councilwoman Davis, thank you, and thank you, Tiffany, and Sherry West, and Dominguez, and Garza for making this happen for the students in South Dallas. They appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Nuttall. Trustee Foreman.
Tiffany, thank you very much. There's nothing like the South Dallas Super Bowl. And being a mighty Tiger from Lincoln High School, we know what's going to happen at the Super Bowl. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustee Jones.
Yeah, I don't want to take any bets either side, but I do want to underscore the importance of these kinds of interlocal agreements, the partnering that we've done with Parks Department and with other entities, City of Dallas. These are the kinds of things that help our kids on so many levels, particularly because of the quality and the greatness of the Cotton Bowl as it's now been redeveloped. And I look forward to a very exciting game and hope everybody is there. So whoever we're going to root for.
Joyce is rooting for
It'll be a
Lincoln
great
High
game.
School. She's a Lincoln Tiger, but I have to root for Lincoln Tigers and the great James Madison Trojans. So I'm going to just stand at the 50-yard line. In the middle.
Thank you, Trustee Jones and Trustee Nuttall. Trustees, any more questions, comments? Yes, sir. Dr. Blackburn.
Just as a commentary, I believe the Wilma Hutchins Mighty Marching Machine is going to provide the pre-game entertainment so that the South Dallas Super Bowl can continue. But just know that Wilma Hutchins will be there to open the door for you.
Now, Mr. Garza, you're capturing all this, right? You see how important this is in our district.
I'm shocked that
Just make sure you catch this.
they didn't ask
Trustees,
for
any other questions or comments?
What is your bowl? What 2 games are your bowl? Kimball? We're coming next year. To Cotton Bowl? Yeah. Oh, did y'all hear that?
Oh, we're going to the Cowboy Bowl?
You know, Luke.
All right, trustees, thanks so much.
W.T. White is having a great year.
Yeah, that's,
so we want to get
that's
into
good.
this.
TJ2. All right, trustees, please cast your votes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Trustees, you have just adopted the motion thereby approving the interlocal agreement between Dallas Independent School District and City of Dallas for the use of the Cotton Bowl for the UIL football game between Lincoln High School and the great Madison High School, James Madison High School, November 7, 2014, not to exceed $13,000 out of the general operating funds. Trustees, those are all the items for today. I want to make in closing remarks, the board will be deliberating in open session very soon as it relates to events leading up to and occurring on Monday, October the 13th, 2014. The board as a whole has had a lengthy conversation in closed session with its attorneys to better understand the options we have at our disposal. I understand as the board president the immediacy of this matter, and I am working with our board to establish next steps. It is important that the community understands, we understand, that this is a highly sensitive issue that requires immediacy. We do not take it lightly, nor does the superintendent take it lightly. The board is going to make every effort to conduct due diligence in an objective manner before any decisions are made. Thank you. That concludes our agenda for this evening. I want to thank everyone for coming. The time now is 9:29 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.